measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If Earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat Earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below this video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Robert Edward, Pablo de la Cruz, Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Playing Poem, Vitali C, Colton James, Survive the Spin, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, J Mel's 24, Unamento, Iron 26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Dal West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links, as I say, to Patreon are below this video. But with that, I'll hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google, so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Guns?
Yes.
Did you know that? Because I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that. Okay, hopefully there'll be a different subject of today's show. Is there a video to cover?
Yeah, one deck has the video we wanted to do last week. I'll repost it.
Okie dokie.
Michael Kahn also sent me another one. He said you might be interested in looking at this. I'll put them both there for you. Give me 1 second.
Thank you.
I'm coming for you.
Look closely at the
Is the Earth flat?
We have video from space of the rotating spherical Earth.
Hey, you bloody liar. You don't have anything.
The Earth is round.
Round? What, round and flat? Maybe. But Neil deGrasse Tyson's never been out to a place that's akin to Narnia, has he? You can't go to a second law of thermodynamics violating sky vacuum. The gas he's breathing to tell you that would dissipate and he would be suffocating. He wouldn't have any air to breathe if the area he's claiming is available for people to travel to take pictures of a quote-unquote round Earth. He wouldn't be breathing. This is from a long time ago. Is this the one that they said they wanted to cover? That was...
It was from 8 years ago, but one deck was saying maybe we revisit it with how we look at things today to see what we miss.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us on this episode.
But what's odd is there are people who think Earth is flat.
Why is it almost automatically about people? I mean, I haven't started to make it about a generalisation, a stereotype. I mean, I don't get it. It's not about the people. It's about the geometry. It's about the measurements.
Right.
But recognize that the moon is round.
Those are not the Earth, though, are they? So immediately he's taking it to a place that isn't. Paula? Door. Hold on a second.
Celestial plane. I ruined that joke. Never mind.
We're going to go over one of Neil deGrasse Tyson's videos from 8 years ago to see how many things we missed without new eyes on.
Oh, he wears it out.
Yeah. There's another one Michael Kahn sent me. It's entitled, "This is what happens when you flatten the Earth." And it goes back to how they started mapping. So that one might be good too.
Are they talking about flattening as in no regard for elevation change and just talking about distance between GPs, or what are they talking about with that?
The gist I got is like they're trying to say when you flatten it, that's where you get all the distortions from.
You have to distort the measurements to make the globe, and then you distort the globe to flatten it. Yeah,
Yes.
it's going to be distorted.
Yeah. That's why they have globe projections. So that the flat maps are one alteration removed from the globe rather than one alteration or one deviation, whatever you'd call it, from the original measurements. So as John's just pointed out, measure it flat. You can't measure it any other way. You're measuring the surface with angles and miles. Then you plot the system with regards to the star's GP, or the stars, plural, GPs, onto the ball. Once you've put it on the ball, you project it onto a cylinder, or there's a numerous different ways of doing it, but onto a cylinder. You cut that cylinder down the middle and roll that out flat. And that's what the transverse Mercator is. You've got the ever-increasing circles of equal elevation, otherwise known as latitude, converted from flat planar coordinates onto a ball, back out onto a cylinder, back out onto a flat map. So you end up with straight lines instead of circles. Then you end up with a grid. You could say, well, in the process of doing that, the distortion's fault is because we've made the map flat. Like, if it was worse, you just keep it as the original was designed, but you don't. You create a globe with flat measurements and then convert the globe back onto a flat map. So if there's ever any problems, you can blame it on it being flattened from a globe. Oh, yes, it's distorted, but that's because it's not convenient to have a globe map. So we have to squash it flat, and that causes the distortion. So it's a way of bullshitting. It's like a double bluff's probably the wrong terminology, but like maybe it is a double bluff. Whatever you'd call it, it's once removed from the original flat measurements, so you can blame the distortion on it being flat.
Right. I think you might be better off doing that video today. That's more on point to what we're talking about. It's the second one I sent you.
We'll do the Tyson one. I don't mind doing the. We've already got into the mood for that one. It's fine. We'll do both if we get through both of them. But rather than just responding to it in the way we would normally, maybe we could ignore some of the things that we'd normally focus on. Like, rather than moaning about him stereotyping us and making it about people, wait till he produces a flat measurement.
Well, that was the idea.
Yeah.
Focusing on that.
Yeah, we can do that. Got my new panel. One of the panels had a 2mm or 3mm little chunk taken out of it, so the box had damage. And it was one of those that it was at the exact same height as the camera points at the panel, so right in the middle of the panel. So when my daughter saw it, she's like, "Oh, it's barely noticeable." I'm like, "These panels cost like 300 quid. That's barely noticeable." You say that when you've handed over 300 quid that's taken you 12 months to accumulate from flogging bleeding microphones. See if you want a chipped panel. So they offered me about 30 quid. They were like, "Do you want 30?" I think they offered me 38 quid to keep it. I'm like, "No."
What? They either got to cut that in half or give it to you for less than that, like 100. Other than that, send me a new one.
Well, yes.
38?
Well, they did. I mean, I would have, regardless if they said you could have it for 100 quid, I'd have still said, no, I'd rather have a new one. Because it's on camera. It's like, I've had several panels from them that have got damaged in transit, and you're like, fine, I'll find a place for them in the room that they're not noticeably, drawing your eye to them. And then that's fine, and a little discount fine on poor, I can cope with a little bit of money off them. They're going to get damaged eventually anyway. But when it's the ones that are directly on camera, you're like, nah, I want them to start off perfect. Yes, if they get damaged, they get damaged, and you hope that it isn't obvious on camera. And even if it is, kind of, if you've had them for a while, it doesn't matter, right? That's just how stuff gets. Some stuff will get damaged. That's how life goes. But it's like rolling up to the car collection day. They pull off the cover and there's a stone chip in the bonnet, and you're like, I haven't even taken delivery of it yet.
Yeah. No good. You did the right thing. Get a new one.
Yeah, so, but I was saying to my daughter, I'm like, they've put an extra set of screws right in the middle. So where the damage was, on this replacement panel, they've attached the panel with an extra set of capped screws. I'm like, oh, this is the only panel that has that. So it kind of looks a bit weird. So I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'd rather that than the damage. But still, it's just like none of the other panels are like that. And it's kind of a bit like that with GIK. You always kind of get something you're like, that isn't quite what I was expecting. It's not quite right. Well, it's fine. Yeah, it looks great now. I'd rather have a couple of extra screws in the middle because it's the middle panel, so I didn't have to slide them all around to have it balance. So if only the middle panel's got those extra screws in the middle, it still looks right. It's not noticeably wrong. It just doesn't match the other ones. But like I say, who cares? As long as it hasn't got a chunk out of the veneer. So quiet in here now. Not that it wasn't very quiet before, but it has definitely made it slightly quieter in the room.
Well, are we going to go over the video or you can do it on a live show?
We'll do it on the live show. Got 10 minutes.
Y'all want to do bets on how quick he appeals to a flat plane?
I'd say within the first 3 minutes.
Within the first minute, I was going to say. You've got 3 minutes from Neil, a minute from me. From where we are, though.
30 seconds.
Within 30 seconds? Any advances on 30 seconds? From the Discord server, we're asking, when we cover this video about Tyson from 8 years ago, how long before they measure a flat plane?
45 seconds.
35 seconds, 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Let's do that again. 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, 3 minutes. Any other guesses? Alpha Murphy, Dank, Flat Earther, Forthright. Any guesses how long before Tyson uses a flat plane? Or measures Earth flat, more specifically?
A minute.
We already had a minute. We want 55 seconds?
Yeah. I'll go
55 seconds. We'll see if you're right.
Go a minute and 1 second. That way you're right in that cushy zone between Nathan and Neil.
Did I guess a minute? You can't do that to me. Anyway, I reckon a minute. I'm going to stick by my original guess. I'll be right back. We've got 10 minutes before we start live. Hopefully the conversation doesn't die. If it does, oh well. Life's hard. You've got 10 minutes of silence.
Well, I have
Nobody
covered
really
this
comes
video
in.
on my channel a long time ago. And I still remember that the first few seconds is them taking a piss out of Flat Earth just by saying that we have pictures. And this is where we end the video, right at the very beginning.
Yeah, they both make believe they get up and walk away.
Yeah, such a farce.
Well, I think he appeals right away. I think Nathan's right. Immediate. I mean, because he
And I
starts talking about.
can't really put my
Right.
finger on which one of the two persons I find more irritating in their demeanor. But the other guy is a jackass for sure.
Did my internet cut out on me again, or is everybody quiet?
No, you're good. Were you here Friday when Nathan finished the book?
No, I was not. That's good to hear, though.
He had finished the day before, but when he read it through from cover to cover, he realized he missed the pitch data. So he had to work it in with the 9/11 flights. So it was a task, but the end result is beautiful. So it's off to the publisher, and now the next step is getting it out.
That's awesome. I hope it does well. You know, and like those other guys, whatever they did, they shouldn't have done. But, you know, best of luck to them too, I guess. But it's still fucking dirty what happened.
Shout out Retracted.
I still don't understand how people can just completely disregard their own experience and accept a what if in place of what did happen.
There was a whole show about it yesterday, Refracted. So let's not even go down that path. I don't think Nathan wants it. It was a rough one yesterday because I had to address somebody that, is hopping fences, and I just can't be around that shit, But just leave it alone.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about. I mean, I don't want to start an argument about it or anything like that. Best wishes to them guys, but
Best wishes, Retracted.
could you imagine, just for argument's sake, if your point was to say the rate limiting step was the best way to handle an argument, right? And the rate limiting step becomes the problem. What do you say then about the rate limiting step?
Say that again?
Do you remember how QE used to say, "Oh, it's the rate limiting step is to debunk, outer space. That way you don't have to go on with because rockets work in a vacuum and
Right.
Right space." You say the rate limiting step is the best way to go about it. Then you ain't got to waste your time. Measurements in this conversation are the rate limiting step to understand the nature of the surface of the Earth. So, why is he opposed to measurements?
Well, because it knocks out this whole freaking thing, because that's all he does is debunk. He claims that when you debunk a globe, you ipso facto prove it's flat, unless there's a third option, which that's not the case. Because Nathan said, well, if you debunk dogs, they don't automatically become cats, do they?
Plus, the measurement isn't debunking anything, is it? It's proof of the flatness and the levelness of Earth. It's not debunking.
That's correct. Measurements, there's no debunking involved. There's no, well, look at this, globe don't exist because of whatever you want to say. You can go to countless freaking things about the globe that they say don't work. But over here, we have a measurement, and that measurement is flat. So there's no, what were you saying the other day, John? You can't take it to freaking court and it's a measurement. It's not something that you could a truth or a proof is not something that could be put up as
It's not debatable.
yeah, it's not debatable. Exactly.
It's also not concedable. So in the book you get a mention, John, for this very specific point, which is to say when you conceded to McToon and Ruhif, it was, as I put it in the book, an inconsequential concession. Inconsequential because what difference does it make if you give them every measurement when every measurement requires a flat plane for their globe to exist? So you're not really conceding anything. There's no debate, therefore saying I concede, what's it mean? it doesn't mean anything, right? It's an inconsequential concession to say, I'll give you all of your globe evidence. It's like, yeah, because it'll all rely on flat Earth, won't it?
Yeah, it means you're setting them up.
Yeah, that was the idea behind it. Was it doesn't matter. I give them their faulty logic, everything, concede everything. It still has to be flat, the measurement.
We still have the dancing bear, don't we?
That's what they want. They want to ignore the dancing bear. That's what people want. They want the debunking arguments. They want to be the guru. I told you I was on 24/7. I stopped there to see what was going on, and they were just making this guy a regular normie that, like every other normie you go out there, they think they're on a globe because that's what they were taught in school. And they made him look like a fool because they knew more than he did. I think it's showtime.
Yeah, but that's so wrong. Looking back at it, just to want to call people names and make fun of them. I mean, that's what the globe.
John,
the globe people do.
I felt, let's get it on. Hey.
Good evening. Good to be here as always.
It's good to have you all. Welcome, welcome. We were discussing just before we started in the pre-show, or more specifically, refracted curvature, and Neil was specifically discussing how anti-globism leaves a so-called flat earther sounding like they're promoting the globe as they go through heliocentric rhetoric. Now, I've been punting the similar idea that anti-glober is there specifically so that the entire discussion can stay fixed firmly on globe earth rhetoric or the debunking thereof. If you're telling somebody as a so-called flat earther where earth curve shouldn't be, you're still talking about earth curve. That's your raison d'etre if you're a, in my opinion, anti-glober, so-called flat earther. Now, in more recent times, we've been talking very specifically about how flat Earth is measured in all instances and without exception. And with that in mind, I think it was Len on Thursday of last week suggested that we cover an older, that's to say 8 years in the making, or 8 years.
One deck.
Was it One Deck? One Deck suggested that we cover an 8-year-old Neil deGrasse Tyson video, Star Talk, with the other black guy he hangs around with. I can't remember his name. We'll get to that. But anyway, those two chaps were making a video 8 years ago. The idea being today, we'll go through that and see where specifically they utilise flat Earth measurements. We also took bets on where precisely that measurement will come into effect verbally. That is to say, how long before they use a flat Earth prerequisite. I guessed a minute, Neil guessed 3 minutes, refracted curvature guessed 30 seconds, Len guessed 45, Arthur said 55 or 105, depending. So we've got a few bets on where we'll get this flat Earth prerequisite out of Tyson and the other black guy who's, like I say, name eludes me. Can anyone remember what the other guy who's hanging around is called? Is it Chuck?
Is it Chuck, I think? Yeah.
Could be Chuck.
Moron?
I don't know about moron. He seems like a perfectly amiable guy. I got to say this, both of them do. I mean, over the years, I've kind of had a love-hate relationship with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Obviously, he is a heliocentric priest, so he's in direct contradiction of what we talk about here, or have talked about when we've been anti-globers. So he's like the antithesis of what we're trying to take apart when he puts the rhetoric, at least for the most part, in the truest sense of the heliocentric word, as a heliocentric priest. So he's often utilised to stack up against anti-flat earthers who brace against flat earthers in name only, who are putting across an anti-globe rhetoric, because Tyson will actually toe the heliocentric line when it comes to having the correct rhetoric regurgitated to his audience, where our opponents, that's your Craigs, your Fight the Flat Earths, your Simon Dans, your Dave Farinas, those kind of guys, will stand in opposition to globe rhetoric if it means they can deny what a flat earther has put across. So the anti-flat earthers, as they got labelled, would often be in contradiction with Neil deGrasse Tyson. But ultimately speaking, he's a lovable guy. He's like what's the guy with the waistcoat in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Is it Carlton? He's like Carlton, right? How can you dislike Carlton? He's just a dweeb. Is it
I
Carlton?
think he's more like Bill Cosby.
More like, I don't know if that's not a fair comparison. Phil Cosby's like a proven rapist. You can't compare him to him. That's completely outrageous.
Yeah, Carlton, the black guy that likes Tom Jones. That checks out.
Yes. He's like a waistcoat wearing dweeb, isn't he? You know, a bit more well-to-do than your average Joe. Speaks with a posh accent, wears a waistcoat. Carlton. I'm thinking of the right guy, right? He's there to contrast the sort of streetwise Will Smith character, isn't he?
That's actually a good comparison. Yes.
I don't know, he reminds me of a bear called Bungle off Over the Rainbow.
You're saying he's a bit camp because Bungle was always a little bit. Am I thinking of the right character? Is Bungle the one?
Zippy and Bundle.
Yeah, they're both kind of camp. Camp in British vernacular just means a bit gay, a bit homosexual in terms of their demeanour. So the hippopotamus and the bear character always talk to each other in kind of homosexual London slang almost, in the way that they slanted their words. They also did anybody ever see the rainbow innuendo leaked video? Anybody ever seen this?
Is this to do with, was it a little bit
risque?
Sexually orientated?
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so. So if you Google rainbow innuendo video or rainbow filthy words video, it starts off with, not Bungle, what's the hippo called? Is it George? He's got a banana.
George.
And he goes, 1 skin, 2 skin, 3 skin. And then Jeffrey walks in. Yeah, you get the general idea. It's just built on innuendo. What you been doing there? I've been playing with my balls, Bungle. Oh, have you? Yeah, these hairy balls. And he brings out some tennis balls, and you get the general idea.
It is. I mean, when you watch that, it was a children's program back in, when was it? Like 80s, 70s, 80s, whatever.
Nah, I think they did go through to the 80s because I remember them being still produced in my very, very early childhood. But I think it started in the 70s.
But when you watch that now and you think, how did they get away with that? Because it's definitely not like a fluke. They're not. It's not just a coincidence what they're saying and the terminology they're using. It's very, it was pre-planned out. I think pre-scripted.
Oh yeah, it was full on done just for the amusement. When I ever read the backstory to it, it was one of those that I could totally understand them doing it. I cut my teeth performing arts. I've worked in theatres and such, and people muck around. Now, if you've got recording equipment and there's nothing going on, the director's not there or whatever, and everyone's just waiting, they all want to make sure that their equipment's working. So the way it was sold in terms of the backstory that I read about that particular video was it was like a technical exercise. In other words, they're all just testing their equipment, making sure the cameras and sound all work, but the cast, that's all 3 puppeteers, one of which is giant bear man called Bungle, George, and then Rod, Jane and Freddie, who are like the side characters that turn up with musical instruments. And Jane and Freddie are talking about Rod's trombone, and it's just a bit of tongue-in-cheek innuendo, double entendre fun. But because it was obviously a kids show, it's that little bit more shocking where the very cute hippopotamus puppet characters talking about his banana skins. It's just that little bit more shocking. But like I say, the story said it was never intended for public consumption. It was just for the amusement of the technical staff and the cast. Anyway, we're talking about this because, in case you've just joined us, we're comparing Neil deGrasse Tyson to Bungle the Bear in Rainbow, which is a British 70s and 80s, preschool kids show, where you're counting, a bit like Sesame Street. So yeah, I don't know if that's a fair comparison. Better comparison than Bill Cosby, that's for damn sure. Anyway, should we get into it? Should we have a little looky?
Yes, I was about to say, can you hit play, please?
Oh well, thanks, Neil. That's Awful kind of you.
Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and the Sun are all spheres, but Earth is flat. That's not, something doesn't square.
Something doesn't jive, right?
Okay. Plus, in my latest book, ooh, did I just plug my book?
Wait, your latest book is called Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. What? We just happen to have a copy right here.
No, it just happens to be. I swear we didn't plant the book.
I've got to pause it because otherwise we're making no commentary. That's something else I should disclaim to the audience. So, as opposed to covering every little thing, which I started doing when I was doing the sound check for this specific video in the pre-show, because he was talking about planets being all spherical and a sort of false comparison with the ground that's not being described in terms of measurements, but a comparison with the lights in the sky, which at face value is disingenuous, but that isn't necessarily why we're covering this video today. I'm sure we've probably covered this video once before, but the reason we're covering it is to just see how we differ now in light of the fact that all roads lead to a flat Earth. Now, had he have said orbits, I'd be jumping in going, well, orbits is a flat Earth prerequisite in terms of the angle acquisitions used to derive our values to put Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion into effect mathematically. Therefore, ergo, orbits is a flat Earth proof. But he hasn't got there yet. He's just said, well, all the lights in the sky I presuppose to be spherical and the ground's flat. How does that make sense? It's like if you're walking through the forest, do you suddenly look around you and go, well, I'm a tree. Everything around me is a tree. You're like, just because you can see lights in the sky isn't necessarily cause to suggest that you are one of the lights. But that's essentially what he's done in his little false comparison. But as I say, that's probably more than we need to be covering because we're just looking to see how we would differ from previous reactions, if you will.
I have an entire chapter
Nathan.
titled...
Yes.
No, go ahead.
On Being Round. Oh. And it's an exploration of how all the laws of physics and the account...
Should I even do it? Laws of physics. No. There's laws of nature and there's physics. Physics is the study of the physical and natural world exclusively governed by science and the scientific method. Physics, science, they are one and the same thing. It's the study of cause and effect, natural phenomena in nature that you want to know the cause of. Laws are completely different. They're just descriptions of that which occurs always. So there's laws of nature and there's science. Physics is the science bit, the study of the physical and natural world, not laws of physics. This is a mishmash used to grease the skids. If you can make people think that physics is about arbitrarily describing things that occur always, then you can take a description of something and assume that it's scientifically valid. It's not. A law of nature is just a description of that which occurs always. A scientific endeavour would lead you with proof of the cause of an effect that you've observed in nature. They're very different things.
Counting of energy as processes unfold in the universe, how that conspire to make things round.
So it favors the sphere.
Favors a sphere, yeah.
No, it doesn't. It's a straight up second law of thermodynamics violation. So in terms of the arrow of time, that's entropy, it describes things spreading out, dispersing, osmosis, entropy, right? When you're describing that process and you juxtapose it with what he's just described, how things come together into a more ordered state to form spheres, that is a direct violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Heliocentrism pisses in the face of natural law. No, things move towards decay. You're not getting younger, you're decaying. That's what the arrow of time is. When you fart, the gas spreads out throughout all the gaps in the air that surrounds the formerly concentrated gas as it moves towards entropic dispersion. That is a law of nature. It's called entropy, the second law of thermodynamics. What he's just described pisses in the face of that. Things coalescing into... No. No, gases don't do that. They spread out.
Yes. Right. And if something's not a sphere, it's a little bit flattened, you can ask what flattened it, and you find out, oh, it's rotating real fast.
Right.
So then it gets a little flattened because of that.
Right.
And so almost everything in the universe is either spheres or slight distortions of a sphere for some other thing that's happening to it. I mean, we can just see how the universe favors...
Really? What about blade of grass, you complete dumbass? You're describing what you call the universe as being lights in the sky, whereas what actually occupies your vision right now, hardly anything's spherical. Look around you. Tell me how many naturally spherical shapes you can see. Put your answers in the comments right now. I want to see collectively, between us, the panel, the Discord server and the audience, how many things that you can observe naturally spherical in your vicinity. And I bet it's very limited. What he's talking about is lights in the night sky that he's already begged the question in this very video of their sphericity. It's like, how are you establishing said sphericity? There are a couple of examples that you can infer it, but that's with telescopes that aren't stereoscopic in terms of their actual vision. Now, there are certain examples of stereoscopic telescopes out there, but they don't all automatically infer that all the lights in the sky are spherical. That's absurd. But he's suggesting that everything in all of existence is spherical based on what he's just said. Complete garbage, nonsense waffle.
Yeah, I mean, you would get dragged into that conversation about what the shape is the lights in the sky years ago. It's got nothing to do with the measurement of Earth, like you've already highlighted, Nathan. But you would get tangled up in this conversation because they're dragging you into, well, everything looks like a sphere in the sky, which it doesn't. So therefore, the Earth's a sphere. But that's got nothing to do with how the Earth is measured.
Absolutely not. Well, go ahead.
I will say that to appeal to shape, you must appeal to Euclidean plane to describe shape. So,
do we give it him? Do we give it him?
Yeah,
I want to see how John explains it. How so, John?
Well, you just did.
Well, you use straight lines. Use straight lines to describe the sphere within Euclidean geometry, right? Straight lines define a sphere. But that's why there is no such thing as a curved line. There's only a curve which is created with straight lines in geometry.
Something else that I recently been writing at the end of the book, and one of the things that I draw attention to if you're reading my book when it comes out in the next few days, is that the practical applications for this sort of information is very limited, if existent. That is to say, ask yourself this. When you hear Neil deGrasse Tyson suggesting that all things are spherical, go, okay, let's just take it as read for a second and go, okay, how is that practically useful? Now, by comparison, if you say, okay, we're looking at the lights in the sky, and let's pick a few. Let's pick a few navigation stars and describe how their position above the plane with their coordinates can be derived to give you positional information. That is a practical application of flat Earth measurements of elevation angles of those lights in the sky. Now, those sorts of practically applied descriptions of flat Earth measurements can save your life. Juxtapose that with, they're all spherical, as Tyson says. That we've got a coalescing spherical world that generally will form spinning spheres, or very close to. You go, okay, how's that useful? Think of a single instance where that is put into practical application. And the answer is, it isn't. You know, the same thing can be said of utilisation of the horizon when you're out at sea measuring your position because you've lost your main boat and you're in a dinghy. You know, you're going to die at sea unless you figure out where the hell you are. And then you use the horizon to derive your position by way of angle measurements to the sun or stars, whatever it is you're going to use to make an elevation angle measurement with to plot your position on a flat map. Now, that, again, is a description of a use of lights in the sky and the horizon to derive angle measurements with respect to a planar surface so you don't die. Now, what do the heliocentrics have by comparison to this? Oh, well, they have the suggestion that boats fall over the horizon. Oh, right, okay, again, let's take that as read. Boats fall over the horizon, you say. Yeah. We derive a mathematical inference that the distance to a geometric horizon is 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height off a flat Earth in flat Earth feet. And you're like, okay, so I'll take two flat Earth prerequisites of height and distance and infer that below the surface level I've taken a differential calculation with a dip measurement when I've measured my altitude off said flat plane to infer that there's a tangent point geometric horizon for boats to fall over below the surface level we just measured flat. Great. I'll take all of that as read. I'll ignore how flat Earth got measured to get there, and I'll say, great. What's the practical application for this claim? Where does this become useful? Beyond brainwashing overgrown 12-year-old gamma and beta cucks who highly value this fart-sniffing boring information and Earth curve calculation, where they also must whistle past the flat Earth measurements they used to infer this geometric tangent point horizon that boats fall over. But where's it practically useful? Where do you actually say, you know what, it's really useful that I infer that these flat Earth measurements I can ignore give us a point below the surface level I just measured flat for my altitude off it in distance in miles? That's really useful for what? The answer is it isn't. There's no practical use for believing that boats fall over a point that you've got to derive from flat Earth measurements. There's no practical use for that. You can find your positional information with respect to a flat plane. That's an Earth that's measured flat and then plotted you and where you are on said flat Earth when it's translated into a chart or a map. That's something that will literally save your life if you're lost. But boats going over the horizon you just used to acquire a plane of reference with doesn't have any practical application. And neither does this crap that they're discussing now about how they infer sphericity through heliocentric endeavours for the lights in the sky to then go on to expand that out into suggestions that all things are spherical. Garbage. Useless. Has no practical application. Its only purpose is to brainwash you into believing that you are on a sphere. That's its only purpose.
Spheres.
So it's nature.
Right.
Basically.
Nature.
The universe.
In all fairness to the people who want a flat Earth.
Yes, let's...
Straight on to the people. What's this got to do with people? Measurements of Earth's planar surface when I detail them with the horizon have nothing to do with me as an individual. But we're straight on to the lowest of low brow. Isn't this supposed to be a self-professed scientist? Why are you talking about people, Mr. Science? That's very low brow, isn't it? That's because that's what flat Earth is. It's hijacked geography and turned it into social studies. Like studies of people and how they behave. Like the lowest of low brow garbage. And that's what we're straight on with this so-called scientist. He's not.
Let's be fair to those.
His phraseology,
In Columbus
his
is that.
phraseology's off, saying that we want a flat Earth.
Is that my desire? Do I desire to establish a plane of reference with the horizon? I mean, you think boats go over it, you dumbass. I mean, these idiots like Tyson and his pal want the horizon to have boats falling over it for no reason at all. I don't know why these idiots want boats to fall over a horizon we use to save our life when we measure Earth flat with it. But they seem to want to infer that that's got something to do with me as a person. I just see these people as idiots. Why would you want boats to fall over horizons, idiot? You want there to be an Earth curve? Well, you'll need a flat Earth measurement in height and distance to get one. I know why you want one, but I'm not assessing you as the individual, you Carlton-looking mofo.
Neil's right, though. It's not like we want a flat Earth. It was here to begin with. We've always had mean sea level, as the baseline for all elevation profiles on Earth. We didn't want it. It was just here. And we've utilised it for all other measurements going forward.
Maybe these people don't want sea level. Do you not want mariners to save their life by measuring Earth flat for GP of a star that they're measuring with a flat planar surface acquired with the horizon, Tyson? Do you want the ground to not let them live when lost at sea? Is that what you want? I mean, that seems like a crazy notion. Do you want people to die, Tyson? Is that what you want when you desire a curve that has no practical application, by contrast to a flat planar surface acquired with a horizon that can save your life at sea? You want to abolish this, do you? That seems like a crazy position for a person to take. I mean, it's inconsequential what Tyson the idiot wants when he desires a curving spherical surface that we measure flat to save our lives. Because we do, in fact, measure it flat when we're in a position to require a fix with celestial navigation. Those are just facts. Tyson's words, or let's be honest, his opinions about people, are inconsequential when it comes to actually measuring Earth's surface. Planar. Definitely not spherical. Or you die. But it seems like Tyson wants that, which unnerves me. Why a scientist would want a ground that wouldn't afford you the navigation ability to not die. I wonder why he wants that. Scary, really.
There was surely a flat Earth contingent. Okay?
Yes.
Columbus predates the era of experimental check.
There it is, the hijacking. So when I said that he wanted to grease the skids of his just so stories by describing things as being scientific when he's describing a description in law, natural law, just so stories can be inferred to be scientific. And here we are talking about experiments. Absolutely guaranteed not to be, though.
Checking of any idea you might have.
Not a lot of peer-reviewed studies back in the day.
So was it just me, or is it a heavy edit where he talks about science, cuts away, and then we're talking about peer review, and then suddenly we're talking about the lack thereof? I don't really understand. Peer review isn't science, though, is it? So why did you hack out your bullshit that you talked about? Oh, that didn't make the edit. He just needed the stolen valor of scientific empiricism being inferred when he used the word experiment. It's like one of those magic words. Did he say science? Oh, well, all this must be proven then. No, definitely not.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with Christopher Columbus predating science? If he was traveling,
nothing.
What does
he just
that have to do with science?
Nothing. He just needed to have that any word. He could have said hypothesis. He could have said theory. He could have said physics. He could have said science. He could have said independent or dependent variable. He could have said hypothesis. He could have said a whole number of magic words that automatically make you, the listener to his show, oh, well, what he's about to say is science, therefore proven. That's all it needs. So what came after him saying, Columbus, blah, 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 science, blah, blah, cut. Doesn't matter. Stolen valor's worked. From now on, everybody hearing this doesn't care there's been a heavy edit. They just hear a science word and assume what he's talking about is genuine.
Back in the day.
Kind of just like,
you just say whatever you felt.
You know what? I believe that elephant poop will cure cancer.
There you go.
That's right. Wrote a paper about it. Like to read it? Here it is. And you're good, right?
Right. So it wasn't until
Shout out
Francis
to
Bacon,
Cleary for the super chat. Says, why does Neil time me out every show? I don't know. You've been timing out Cleary. What's he doing, Neil?
What are you talking about in the chat? I haven't timed anybody on the chat today.
I don't know if he's being sarcastic then. I didn't know that you were. I normally notice whenever somebody gets timed out, and if you were being timed out, I'd notice. But I haven't noticed. And I don't think you have. And I can see your super chat. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat.
Who is it anyway? What's the name again?
Cleary.
I'll look into it.
And if you just do a little research on Columbus and what equipment he used and tools he used for navigating, he used the Mariner's sextant, which will require sea level for the elevation angle measurement.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of debunking what Tyson said. He's saying that the world is spherical based on looking at lights. I mean, non sequitur fallacy of non sequitur fallacies, but nevertheless, that's what he said so far. It's like, okay, so according to you, the world must be spherical. You've been out to sky vacuums and taken pictures of it in direct violation of Christopher Columbus's chosen methodology for finding his frickin' way home. So do you just deny the aspect of his use of sextants on board his little boat there, Tyson? Just going to deny that story because of your fallacy use when it comes to suggesting that what's in the sky is comparable to what's on the ground? They're little twinkling lights, mate. Meanwhile, Columbus measured Earth flat with a sextant. He utilised sea level, a very well-known concept that is in defiance of your nonsense waffle about everything being spherical. It's flat. It's measured. It's Earth's surface being described for the topographical changes with respect to a planar reference called mean sea level. That's what's being utilised when you measure Earth's surface. This garbage waffle about it being spherical is in complete contradiction to the actual measurements, Tyson. Maybe you just like people dying at sea.
Galileo in the 1600s, where the idea that if you're going to say...
Galileo also used angle acquisitions to the stars to track their movements. He also utilises flat Earth prerequisites of surface level for angle measurements to stars. Why don't you look at these guys and what they actually describe? These people are all measuring Earth flat.
Say something, and you think what you're saying is true.
No. Maybe you could like to prove me wrong. You're telling me that Galileo didn't use elevation angle measurements of the stars? Okay, prove me wrong. Show me where he got a curve angle to any of the lights in the sky, as that's your chosen description of what these people have got to work with. Your inference, they're spheres. Therefore, we're spherical. Really? How do we get elevation angles to them? Like Galileo did. Oh, maybe we could just ignore the fact that he's got to measure angles to stars for any of his systems.
Then no matter how obvious you think it is that it's true, you should still test it.
But there's nothing to test. It's just an angle to a star. It's either a straight baseline and a line to the star, so you can call it an angle, or it's not. What's the test? Do you want me to get an angle and put it in front of an exam paper? Is that what you'd like me to do? That seems preposterous. It's just an angle acquisition. Your belief in a ball's based on them. Flat Earth measurements, that is.
Gotcha.
There could be something fooling you in one.
Really? Maybe I'm misunderstanding what two straight lines meeting at a vertex to measure angles to stars are. Maybe the angle's got one over on me. No, please don't anthropomorphise angle acquisition into some sort of Joker trickery. It isn't. It's just an angle off a flat plane. It is pretty simple. Nobody's getting tricked by elevation angles.
One way or another. So if you want to say Earth is flat.
No, I don't say it. I say your ball faith is based on it. That's a fact. Now, prove me wrong by sitting in an exam paper for an elevation angle and see how it gets on, see if it gets a grade. Meanwhile, we'll just understand that two straight lines meeting at a vertex is what is required to develop these light systems that you develop a ball from. They're utilising elevation angle measurements from surface level. Simple.
Exactly, Nathan. That's what I was going to say. If you want to say Earth is flat, maybe people did say that a few years ago, but now we don't just say it. We will describe how it's measured that way and always has been. That's what we'll be telling you now, pal.
Then, for example, lunar eclipses. What's a lunar?
You there, John?
Oh, yeah. He's got to describe the incident angle of the moon and sun in relation to the surface of Earth. He needs some angles right there for that. You're in trouble, Tyson.
Okay, so how long was the time? Who won the bet? I said 3 minutes.
John had already taken that crown after a minute. I mean, I won because it was pretty much bang on a minute. But in terms of spotting it, John described shape in general. You're going to describe it with respect to three-dimensionality, length, breadth, and depth. Spherical shapes, if you're going to put them into any practical description that relates to the world you actually inhabit, requires a three-dimensional Cartesian system to describe the shape.
That's a reach.
I don't think that's a reach. I wouldn't have... If it wasn't for the fact that I tried to take a polar pattern for a microphone and describe that three-dimensionally, and then John said, that's a flat Earth proof. And I'm like, that's a stretch. And then he directly contrasted how the real-world use of a polar pickup pattern from a mic requires you measure it with respect to a plane, put it into a depictorial version so you can reference it on a piece of paper, so you can translate that three-dimensional design, or measurement, if you will, back into reality so you can apply it to your everyday world and the circumstances that that piece of equipment's used in. Now, that overcomplicated description for a Cartesian plane reference to the real world plane that will be used for that device if you want to describe it in three-dimensional space. Well, describing any shape, not just a complex polar pickup pattern, any shape requires you reference it to the planar surface. How can you describe it in reality unless you've got a plane to contrast it with? If you're going to describe a shape in reality, you need Earth to adhere to the axiomatic principles of a Cartesian plane. So it's not a stretch.
Plus, Nathan, I mean, at some point, I hope he's going to tell us how, this apparently the globe is measured. And I think then I don't think, once he gets on some measurements, because that's the point, isn't it? When we ask a globe believer to supply us with some measurements, within 10 seconds, they'll be talking about flat Earth. Now, at the beginning of this video, he's not really got into measurements. He's just speculating about lights in the sky. So it's been difficult to pin it down, but John did very well to get that early anyway. But if he talks about measurements, it's all over.
Well, I mean, he is into the thick of it now. Now he's talking about eclipses. You can directly translate an eclipse measurement with respect to its angle description.
Yeah, that's different.
Well,
the other one, you're reaching to me. But this one, yeah.
Okay, I mean, if you want to count this one, this is almost at the 3-minute mark. So whoever had 3 minutes or slightly under wins, because this is a direct translatable to a real-world observation that you can suggest you've seen, right? That is to say, if I just say an shape, and you say, well, you can't really count that as a flat Earth proof, it's at this point purely conceptual, even though the translation into real-world hypothetical use would require a plane of reference. This is a direct description of a light in the sky when it's having what they call an eclipse occur. Their description fundamentally relies upon angle acquisition, therefore a flat Earth proof.
Yes, that's what I meant. It was like more obvious.
I don't know if it's more obvious. Most people wouldn't necessarily see the flat Earth angle descriptions when detailing what an eclipse is and realise that that's a planar description of angles, even though it is right obvious to us now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Us.
Most people whistle past this stuff. Most people, us from 3 years ago, where you'd start describing the angle of the eclipse with respect to Earth, and then not even realise or appreciate in any way, shape or form that you need a planar surface to do that. Most people wouldn't appreciate that.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago, we would not have done that. We would have just started dealing with eclipses, how you don't know what the moon is, you don't even know if it's a shadow. But now we're dealing with dealing with it head on.
Yeah, the measurements require planar descriptions. Go ahead, Wandek.
I'm just saying, yeah. So now we would just, if we was having a conversation, we can directly point out and give examples of how Earth is measured flat. This example he's giving of the eclipse requires a globe Earth. So, I mean, he must have some measurements for that globe Earth, and you can guarantee that when he describes how that supposed globe Earth was measured, he'll be using probably horizontal, level, and elevation angles for his globe.
What makes you think it's globe Earth? Is it because there's an inference that there's one thing crossing in front of the other? Because the description mathematically is as akin to just put it on screen. This. If you're going to describe orbital motion, you're going to describe it from the equatorial plane because it's part and parcel of orbital motion. So you have a bifurcation of a spherical Earth for it to work with the degrees that the glorified surface offers you as a protractor. Yeah? Therefore, all of the descriptions will be with respect to said plane, with you inside a ball. Now, I appreciate that the ball's moving around the sun in their violation of said flat Earth measurements, and then they can describe an occultation, but you still have the exact same description like on screen now. The ball is nothing more than a glorified protractor. You are suggested to be inside it, and the description of the angle for the bifurcated path of the ball to occult requires a planar surface for the angle description. So it's not necessarily accurate to say, well, the description they give of the occultation in an eclipse is purely spherical, because you've got to assume that you can traverse to hell your position to describe it that way. So it's planar. It's very much a planar description.
eclipse, if your face is the brilliant sun,
Thank you.
and this is Earth.
So if you can see
No.
on this diagram, can you see how this line traverses through the center of the ball? Now they've tried to make it less obvious than is depicted on my diagram. Let's show you mine again. Yep. This point in the center would be where the line, the dotted line, comes out. He's just got it at a different angle, right? So it's less obvious that what you're describing in an orbital motion must bifurcate Earth to give you a planar equatorial surface to describe angles with respect to. Be it your angle with respect to the sun's angle with respect to you, your angle with respect to the moon, whatever it is you're describing comes from the center. So in his diagram, he has to, because it's the only way it's mathematically capable of being described, describe this system from in a ball. Now, has he made it clear and obvious that this dotted line is bifurcating the ball Earth? No, he isn't. But that is what's happening. This dotted line gives away the planar surface in the ball that can only be the point of reference to describe orbital motion. So it's right there. It's not like he's hiding it. It's a bit more subtle than maybe you would hope with these dotted lines terminating at the surface. Little bit sneaky. But I assure you, based on my more accurate depiction, less cartoony, as you've just seen, that this is a bifurcation of the sphere Earth to have the ball traverse through on an orbital path. Shout out to Roger Ledwell, who's gifted 1 membership. Really appreciate the support.
And the moon is over here. The sun is always casting Earth's shadow into space. It's always there no matter what.
Right.
Obviously, okay? It's just a shadow.
It's a shadow.
The moon
It's just a shadow
occasionally
shining on blackness.
yeah, a shadow in darkness.
A shadow in darkness.
So the moon occasionally passes through that shadow. And
Go ahead.
You see the shading of the shadow of the Earth, that plane of shadow and light? There's where they're getting their angles from.
and if you see the
This is a planar description.
shape of Earth's shadow on the moon, it is always round. Always round. If Earth were flat,
And now we've got a transposition between a heliocentric world derived from flat plane measurements to give us radial values to scale with Kepler and Huygens, and inserting a penny into that worldview. Now, strictly speaking, that's actually slightly more accurate in terms of where the bifurcation of a surface that gives you an equatorial plane would be. That is to say, does it make any difference if this has a spherical or planar surface to deal with? Well, yes. Both utilised the planar surface inside the ball. But by getting rid of the ball, what, you think that alters the angles that you get? No, their inference, after violating the base principles that they derive radial values to give them orbital motion, is that the world is spherical and does create a shadow. So that's essentially begging the question. After the flat Earth, prerequisite measurements have been taken and inferred with angles.
sometimes you get like a flat shadow.
Right.
That's just garbage nonsense waffle. You're working outside of the convention that was derived with flat Earth measurements in the first instance to say the flat Earth doesn't work. It's like, so you're saying that the angle description doesn't come from a plane, it's an angle. Of course it comes from a plane. Does that mean that we've got a flat disk creating a shadow? How do you know it's a shadow? The mathematics violate the base principle, and you're not taking this angle from in hell in your previous version. Your dotted line went through your ball in the same way this diagrammatical example shows the angle coming from within the ball. Well, you're going to tell me that you went to hell to get this angle measurement, Tyson? Did you go to hell to get this angle? You didn't, then your globe fails. Completely. Even if you want to suggest that it works with an angle from a plane. So I'll lean into that. Okay, yeah, Tyson wins. According to Tyson, we've got a shadow creating an angle. Okay, I'll accept it. Take it as read. The angle came from a flat plane, it's an angle. You tell me I'm wrong, am I making it up? Do I need to put the angle on trial? Do I need to give the angle an education? It's an angle. It will and can only come from a plane. So for his description of angles, you need a plane to measure.
We've never seen a flat shadow.
Right.
In fact,
It's a straw man, isn't it?
it is a segment
Absolutely.
of a arc of a circle, no matter the
Shadows are 3D.
Again.
All shadows are 2D and flat.
orientation of the moon and the sun. And the only thing that makes a perfectly circular shadow
would be something that's perfectly circular.
Perfectly spherical.
Spherical.
Yes.
Well, if it's perfectly spherical, how are you acquiring the angle? You can't get an angle from a curve. It's two straight lines meeting at a vertex. Meanwhile, your description comes from here, on the equatorial plane, inside the ball. So when he's describing the arc is of the surface if you see the surface as though it's a protractor edge, with you inside it. So for this to describe any angles, you need a plane to describe them with.
So the only
I'm
thing
sorry, that's
that makes
not
a
reality, Nathan.
Well, that's his reality. He's just described it.
Yeah, but he's got inside what? You're saying equatorial inside what? This
Inside of what?
globular Earth that we don't have?
No, inside a derivation of a acquisition of an R value at 3959 miles that has an inference after conversion that the circles of equal elevation acquired from Polaris can wrap around you in the angle curve of a protractor with you standing inside it. So therefore you've got a planar surface describing angles with a glorified protractor at 3959 miles called a ball Earth with you standing inside it. That's where orbital motion derives from. Inside the ball.
perfect circle shadow every single time is a perfect sphere.
Right.
Say it once more. This is straw man. It's got nothing to do with the acquisition of the angle to describe it mathematically. But you're describing the penny versus ball shadow when the acquisition is from a plane inside the ball that you are never going to measure. Meanwhile, you are describing an angle that you can measure from a planar surface, and that's exactly how it must be measured.
Okay? No matter what angle
No matter
you
where
shot. Whereas a disc, it would only make a perfect circle if you lined it that way.
Right.
And then
you have to look at the face of the disc in order to get the circle.
The circle. If any other angle, you get other shapes.
something.
Any other what? Any other angle? Yeah, that's right. You'll need an angle. You won't get that from a curved surface, and you'll have to traverse your position into hell. The fiery, burning pits of a molten iron core you suppose is inside a spherical Earth. Are you getting this angle from inside hell, my friend? No, but you are definitely using angle, aren't you? Yeah, you're going to need a flat Earth for that.
Something of another
The
shape.
Greeks knew this.
Right.
Did they now? What, when they measured angles to the sun off a plane? Yeah, the Greeks all knew how flat it was. That's how they measured it. Earth's surface was measured flat by the Greeks.
Right.
All the lunar eclipses had a...
I made a really good poem about this.
No, I was gonna not that, but that part of that poem. But that's why that it's in there, because when you do research it, you don't get any. It always starts off, well, the Greeks knew the Earth was a globe. Doesn't tell you. You know, it goes on to then describe how they measured it flat, but that's the first thing you're shown or you read. Well, the Greeks just knew, and that's why it was put in the poem. And it's just ironic how he's just said it as well.
Well, some people like to imagine that they're inside a ball, moving on an orbital path. I mean, these people are delusional crackpots. Tyson's a moron. He thinks he's inside a ball. I mean, what kind of delusional nonsense these people have to fantasize about to suggest there's sphericity around them? Like when they're on the equatorial plane measuring angles. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? The angle that you need from a plane. Like the Greeks were measuring with their sticks and shadows. How do you say the word for the tool? Is it a nom-nom? Is that how you say it? Just means stick in the ground to acquire a shadow from a flat plane.
They said, oh my gosh, we must be in a round Earth. This is thousands of years,
Before
2,000 years
Columbus.
before Columbus. Exactly.
Right.
So now if the Earth is round, how big is Earth?
Round? What, round and flat for acquisition of an angle with respect to an equatorial plane? Is it because Tyson secretly knows that it can't be spherical and has to flip-flop between these terms? That's spherical and round. Because you can be round on an equatorial plane acquiring angles, but you can't acquire the angle from a spherical surface. That's impossible. You'd be inside the ball. That's why I believe Tyson's a lying shit. He absolutely knows where he's deceiving people and has to be careful with his phraseology. Because you notice how he's now back to describing it as round. He's used the word spherical multiple times in this discussion. Why would he flip-flop to the word? Oh, because he needs a flat plane. So round is perfectly acceptable. It's a derived radial value that's been hijacked to create the sphericity off a circular area of equal elevation derived from an angle measurement to give you a radial value on a flat plane. That's round. Round and flat for an angle. But Tyson, the slippery little bastard, is deceitful. May you burn in hell. That same core that you think this orbital path is capable of giving you an angle acquisition from, Tyson, may you burn there, you deceitful scumbag. You've just changed your terminology, telling me in no uncertain terms you know you're lying about this shit. You know that you need to acquire the angle from a plane, and it has to be round. What happened to spherical? Oh, we're not spherical anymore because we're talking about angle acquisition from in hell at the core, where this all functions on an orbital path derived mathematically from flat Earth angle measurements. Tyson knows. It's the first time I've spotted it, Tyson. The first time I can look at something you've done and gone, this little lying shit knows where he has to be tricky with the language. Because that's the appropriate time to describe it as round as opposed to spherical. You deceitful shit, Tyson.
Not my first time. I always knew that.
Tyson, you're a deceiver. Yeah? You know where you've got to be tricky with the language. You're an outrage. You're a disgrace of a human being. You know the world's not spherical, don't you, Tyson? Otherwise you wouldn't have changed the word from spherical to round. Where it's not necessary, aren't you supposed to be proving how spherical it is? But we're back to round. That's because we're getting angle acquisitions for this description. So you need it to be flat. So round's acceptable. Yeah? Then you're not lying? You are lying, Tyson. And I'm calling you out on it.
Nathan, before you start, you're 100% correct, because when the gentleman to his left said round earlier in the video, he corrected him, Tyson, and said spherical.
Exactly.
But now he's saying round?
Yeah, because now
Very
they're talking about
tricky.
angles. This is what they're describing. Let's just put it back on screen again. This is why he changed his language. Yeah? And I would expect an astrophysicist to understand implicitly that this is how it functions. He had a diagrammatical example with a dotted line going through his ball to derive a plane capable of angle acquisition. So he knows this is how it works. You're just a scumbag, Tyson. I hope you burn in hell for your deceit. You scumbag.
might want to check for that. There was a famous experiment conducted by Eratosthenes.
No, this is not not only is this not an experiment, it's a flat Earth measurement.
One experiment, measurement of a flat Earth.
Eratosthenes. And the two cities in the old world, and one of them, they knew that at 12 noon on a particular day of the year.
What's 12 noon? Is that a derivation of a flat Earth angle acquisition of the sun? Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
He's using time, which is a flat Earth prerequisite. If everything's spherical, how are you getting this time conception to give you noon? Oh, you won't. You'll need to measure Earth flat to derive angles to the sun to give you this convention that you're now using on your flat plane that's round for your angles. Notice? No corrections coming? Yeah, Tyson, you're a scumbag.
Here, that the sun was directly overhead, and you can see the bottom.
Overhead is a flat Earth prerequisite. To be overhead, you are perpendicular to a plane of reference. Flat Earth prerequisite number 2. We're only 3 seconds into this description.
Of a well.
Oh, okay.
You don't run around looking at the bottoms of wells.
No.
Because the light doesn't take. It's just no.
Doesn't get down there.
Doesn't get down there.
How can we use this observation to see if Earth...
Well caught. Down is also a flat Earth prerequisite description, perpendicular to a plane of reference. To be down is no different to being up. You are perpendicular to a plane of reference to be down. To describe the well's depth, you need a plane of reference. What plane of reference, you might ask? This one on screen right now. From his own mouth.
Yeah, the bottom of the well also requires...
I was going to say that, John. Bottom 2.
Will be the depth of the horizontal plane of Earth.
That's correct.
Perpendicular. 90 degrees.
Earth's surface is curved. We needed another well.
Hello.
Turns out we can't see the bottom.
Did he just say the Earth's surface is curved? Maybe you need to have a word with the guy making your little diagram, you dumbass. No, clearly not. That's not what you're showing, you complete clown. Maybe Tyson's just delusional and doesn't know his own cartoons that are getting presented on his own video. So if you're going to say the surface is curving, why isn't it?
Both wells at the same time. What might explain this?
There's nothing to explain. You're measuring down, up, perpendicularity. You're measuring angles. These are flat Earth prerequisites, as per your stupid diagram.
Well, there are two possible explanations. First, we could have a flat Earth with a sun that's small and close by.
Another straw man burning. False comparison with a false dichotomy. So if we get angles from a flat plane, we do. We're only ever going to get angles with respect to a planar surface. What's that? But that's if the sun's local and... No, it makes no difference. You're measuring angles. Who gives a shit what the sun is? You're measuring angles. When you curve the surface, they won't be angles anymore. So if you want to put it into this false dichotomy, okay, well, it's flat then, because you're getting angles from it. Not whether or not the sun's local.
So that the light hits the second well at an angle.
Right, you're using angles full stop for both examples. So what, you're going to suggest that if Earth's curving, the angles, they're cool too, right, on a curved surface? No, they won't be.
Or second, we could have a curved Earth with a sun that's big and far away, so that all the light comes in parallel.
But parallel, as in a flat Earth prerequisite description of things running alongside each other. Yeah, you'll need a parallel perpendicularity to be in effect to describe them as parallel. You'll need a flat surface to describe them parallel with. You need the initial axiom of horizontal to have every one of these lines line up alongside each other. That's parallel, perpendicular to a plane of reference. You don't have parallel unless you've got a plane.
Like you just said, though, Nathan, his angle's no longer existent now, is it? He hasn't got any angles to work with looking at that diagram.
No.
But only one well at a time is lit all the way to the bottom. Turns out with just 2 wells, there's enough wiggle room for both explanations to fit our observations.
No, you can't get an angle from a curved surface. Do you not know what an angle is? It's two straight lines meeting at a vertex. If one of the lines is bent, it's not a frickin' angle.
Eratosthenes
to assert a distance to a celestial body is wrong. The celestial body's distance is undefinable. It's infinite. That means in this particular geometry, undefinable. And he's trying to define where it is. He's contradicting what we measure.
only had 2 wells. But what if he had added a third? With a third well, it doesn't matter where the sun is. No flat Earth model can explain the angles of all.
Right, angles? Explain that. If you're measuring angles, what are you, MC Toon? Hello? If you're measuring angles, then you've got a planar surface to get them from. You're saying no model can explain the angles. No curved surface can give you angles.
All 3 shadows. But the spherical model explains it all 3 angles.
You think you're getting angles from curves? You're an idiot. You don't understand what an angle is. It's 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex. The surface cannot be curved if you're going to use it to measure the angles with.
With ease.
And to do this experiment, we got to measure the angles.
Say
again?
That's why they like to give explanations for measurements. Measurements are descriptions. They're not explanations, guy.
That's
what
correct.
are you doing?
That's correct.
You're giving explanation for description? You're insane,
Correct.
Neil.
Greeks had the angles.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Greeks had the angles because they're measuring Earth flat to acquire them. You can't get angles from a curved baseline. Simple.
Okay, in fact, geometry translates to Earth measurement. So one last thing.
So we're measuring Earth then? So curved, it's not an angle if that's the geometry, the Earth measurement. So the Earth curves, no angle then, Tyson. You complete clown. Meanwhile, if it's an Earth measurement of an angle, it cannot be anything other than flat for it to be an angle. It is that simple.
Which should be obvious if you pay attention and think about it. If you send a ship straight to the horizon, eventually it begins to disappear.
Again, I'm going to just say it like I did earlier. Where's this practically applied? Can you give me one example where the inference that a distance to a geometric horizon measured with surface level altitude, that's 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, will give you the distance below surface level of a geometric inference of a horizon that's the point of tangency for a ball you created with flat Earth derivations of a radial value acquired with flat Earth measurements of angles to stars like Polaris. Where's this put into practical application? How many lives has this batshit insane nonsense that boats fall over the frickin' horizon been useful to anybody beyond the 12-year-old boys that liars like Tyson are bullshitting? Where's it useful? Now, meanwhile, while you're having a little think about where boats falling over a alleged geometric tangent point horizon derived from flat Earth distance and flat Earth altitude off surface level is actually useful for anything beyond brainwashing idiots, know this. Columbus used a sextant to find his frickin' position by measuring the surface flat with the horizon. It's used to get what's that word? Angles. That's how we navigate. Now, for that, he found his way home so he could know his exact position when he traversed the surface level, with the measurements of surface level giving him the ability to measure elevation, that's from surface, like geometry, like elevation angles, Earth measurements that require it flat. Yeah, that means he can find his way home, not die. That's when we measure Earth flat in practical, useful application. Now, back to my original point, where has this shit that boats fall over the horizon you measured Earth flat to reify, where's that useful? Where's that saved any lives? It hasn't. It's not useful for anything other than bullshitting overgrown 12-year-old boys who like rocket ships and sky vacuums. That's what it's useful for. It doesn't have any practical use. Thinking and believing that you can derive a geometric horizon for boats to fall over has no practical use.
Can a ship go straight?
No, John.
To the horizon on a globe?
Nope.
What are you talking about? Straight.
And I think Nathan's right. I mean, he said earlier when he said that people want a flat Earth, Nathan said they want the curve Earth. And this is demonstrated right here. They want that curve. But unfortunately, it just doesn't measure that way. It measures flat.
Okay, I mean, I'll accept it. We'll do it. We've done it in the rest of the show, so I'll do it again. Okay, I take it as read. I accept Neil deGrasse Tyson's premise that we've got a distance, that's a horizontal linear measurement in miles or kilometres, to a geometric tangent point horizon in an orthographic view. And in order to achieve it, we will measure our height off sea level to achieve this. So I can only assume that Tyson, in his reified belief of a physical geometric sphere edge below the surface level we measure, is applicable to the surface level we measure. It's in his maths, labelled surface level. And it has to be flat, or the derivation of a dip angle, that's depression angle measurement, to his reified tangent point horizon can't be derived without parallel eye level. So Tyson must understand this. He's inferring the mathematics of sphericity for a never practically applied to anything claim that boats fall over a horizon. Hashtag shit shrinks, by the way. Stuff gets smaller into the distance. It's called perspective. But we'll just not worry about that. We'll focus on the mathematics Tyson now requires to make this claim. That requires unequivocally a flat Earth measurement from sea level for height. 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height off sea level. It's required. So Tyson knows Earth's measured flat. He needs it to be measured flat so he can get his height off sea level for his bullshit maths that has no practical use in real world. But boats falling over a horizon. Like anybody's going to find a useful application for this shit that needs Earth to be measured flat to infer.
Until it's no longer visible beyond your horizon.
Right.
And you should ask yourself, what kind of surface would produce that result?
I don't know. Or ask yourself, how do we measure distances along the surface? We measure it in miles. They're horizontal and linear distance measurements, like on the scales on the flat maps that are measured by surveyors with respect to sea level. Like the topographical changes can be ignored. They're also measured for their altitude. That's height perpendicular to a plane, or depth for valleys, perpendicular to a plane also. Reference to the master of all horizontal planes of reference. That's mean sea level. The same one you'll need for your height if you're going to infer that there's a distance to geometric horizon at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's measured height off a flat plane. So Tyson knows it's flat, unless he's too stupid to understand this mathematics. And if he's not too stupid to understand his own mathematics, he'll understand implicitly that height is perpendicular to sea level. It's labelled in his own maths he's using to infer this useless shit.
Nathan, you hit it right in the head. He's asking the guy, ask yourself, when he should be saying, what do the measurements dictate? Not ask yourself, how does it measure?
Yeah, rather than what surface could give us this. Oh, really? What surface could give us this? Well, in your maths, it says surface level. It's one of the labels. So when you say what surface could give us this maths, as opposed to what some random dickhead who doesn't know the slightest thing to bounce off thinks, I would rather just infer the measurements that you will absolutely require hold true for your claim to be true. It can't be. It violates the axiomatic principle of surface level measurement to give you a height to suggest there's a geometric horizon at 1.22 times the square root of your measured height off a flat Earth. You'll still require a height off a flat Earth. You'll still require to infer that there's a distance that will be measured with respect to the surface level, horizontal and linear. That's miles or kilometres. The tools that you will apply to your claim, Tyson, they require you accept how flat Earth can only be measured for your claim. To summarise, Tyson requires a flat Earth measurement to magically infer this shit that violates its own base principle measurements of surface level, eye level, and altitude.
In defense of Tyson, it is heliocentric rhetoric that you measure a localized plane of reference. So he's within his rhetoric. I don't know if he's technically lying. He's just wrong.
If it's
the ocean has a ramp. It's like a parking lot. The ocean has a ramp.
It's an elevator.
It's an elevator. Then you get to a certain point, and they're just like going down.
Down is a description that would require a flat plane, sir. You're talking about perpendicular to a plane when you describe a vector in a downward orientation. Down's a flat Earth prerequisite. Like up. Like the slope, when you say the ground curves, yeah, we've got surveyors for that. How curved a surface can be, that's a hill, is measurable. I wonder how they measure it. They measure it from sea level. It's called rise over run. The run is the horizontal linear mile measurement, and the rise is the deviation from the horizontal. That's how you measure a slope if you're surveying the land. So we can measure these things, you pair of dumbasses. It's the same prerequisite horizontal sea level that you'll need for your Earth curve inference that uses surface level to give you a height to punch into your mathematics. That infers there's a deviation from surface level, also labelled in your maths, when describing a depression angle from eye level, perpendicular to a plane and parallel with surface level. It's all labelled in their own maths how flat Earth must be measured. And if we're going to describe deviations of the ground allegedly sloping away from that, we can survey it with respect to sea level. That's how we survey.
Seafarers knew this.
Right.
And
did they? Did Columbus knew it when he measured elevation angles with a sextant? Did he know that the ground was curving away from him when he used it to acquire angles so he could find his way home, Tyson? You sound like an idiot. You sound like you haven't actually studied what Columbus did, or how he navigated, or the tools he used to navigate. You're an idiot. You seem to think that in violation of a surface level measurement that you punch into your maths, the surface level you require, labelled on your maths, means the ground curves. What a crackpot idiot. Are you insane, Tyson? Were you dropped on your head? Or are you just a deceitful little shit?
So, however flat they would have imagined the Earth to be.
We're not imagining Jack, Dumbo. You think we're imagining 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height? That's a measurement, Tyson. Are you imagining that value that you punched into your calculator wasn't from sea level? Why would you violate your own necessity to measure Earth flat for altitude and then infer distance in a horizontal linear mile or kilometre measurement? Why would you violate it? Why would you suggest it's down to an inference of anything about the ground when you're measuring it flat, man?
I think there, Nathan, like you said before, he's doing a bit of word salad. He's using the word imagine. What he really means is that's what they was utilising it as flat. They knew that, he knows that, but it's just through the word, they had to just imagine it was flat to navigate these seafarers, you know. That's what he's doing again.
Yeah, in his mind, there's some sort of imagination land where they don't measure the surface. I mean, only 30 seconds ago, this was about geometry. What earth measurement? I know it's about imagination now.
Also, if I just tell you, Chuck, walk due east, okay?
Right.
And
due east? Oh, well, what I'll need to do to acquire due east is to take this compass and level it. Then I can say, that's east. That's a two-dimensional directionality. So you're going to now lean into this two-dimensional directionality system derived from compasses and infer sphericity from it? Are you nuts, Tyson? Are you literally bonkers? Or what?
Don't ever stop.
Just saying that one of the reasons we've covered this is because this is 8 years old, and maybe 8 years ago, you're just firing bullets now on this particular topic since the Eratosthenes. Every other word you're just pulling apart, and we went years with not doing that, didn't we? We missed it. We're not missing it now.
Right.
I just turn around my chair and face this way, and eventually you're going to come back.
Right. Sorry, as in you just turn around in an orientation that's two-dimensional, and then you'll come back on a, circle? Yeah, that's flat though, isn't it, Tyson? You're talking about two-dimensional directionality. Yeah, that's a flat Earth prerequisite. So you're going to just, whistle past how flat directions are when you're inferring sphericity? No, you'll need flat directions, and they're flat. That's it, game over, end of discussion. If you're going to infer anything from this, it's that we've got two-dimensional directionality from a leveled compass.
Right, and you'll probably be about 150 years old, because I am no Forrest Gump. That is how long it would take me to run the Earth.
For me, the fact that there's a rise of flat earthers is...
A rise, metaphorical otherwise, is a vector perpendicular to a plane of reference. To rise, you're going in an upward direction. That's perpendicular to a plane.
Evidence of two things.
Okay.
One.
That you can ad hom people.
We live in a country that protects free speech.
All right. I think, because I'm protected, I'm going to call Neil deGrasse Tyson a complete clown. That's free speech protection. I mean, it doesn't alter that he's got flat Earth prerequisites like directionality, height off sea level, horizontal linear distance measurement, surface level, eye level, parallel, perpendicular. All of these flat Earth axioms that he's already linked into to infer that he's got sphericity in violation of every single geometric measurement, like Earth measurement. You can't have curves giving you angles in wells. You can't have an orbital motion where you're in the centre of hell. That's not me needing to be protected by any free speech laws. That's you, a crackpot, using flat Earth measurements and then going to stereotyping fallacies in conclusion. That's what you're doing. Scummy.
That's actually kind of awesome.
And two, we live in a country with a failed educational system.
What, where people who use flat Earth elevation angles to describe how Columbus navigated suggest that he wasn't getting angles because they were curved? Where people describe elevation angles to the sun or stars and then suggest that because of how far or close the sun is, a curve can give you an angle? Yeah, it's an utter failure on your part to have understood what your maths teacher taught you when he described what a fucking angle was, you complete clown. Yes, there's a failure on the education system. You typify it, you dumbo.
Ooh, that one hurt.
Our system needs to train you not only what to know.
Know this, you stupid idiot. Elevation angles require the surface be flat. That's what you are utilising. Depression angles require that the eye line is parallel with the surface level. That's what you're using in your maths. flat earth prerequisites, but you've got the absolute outrageous gall to then stereotype people like we've got a failure in the education system. I was privately educated. Did you go to some shit state school where they taught you how to piss at a particular time of the day after a bell? Is that the education you had, Tyson? How dare you stereotype us after using flat earth measurements and prerequisites and directionality, perpendicular to a plane, to suggest that we've got a curve? You're a clown. How dare you?
But how to think about information and knowledge.
But have you thought about how angles are acquired, you stupid crackpot?
And evidence. If we don't have that kind of training, you'd run around believe anything.
What, like believe that you can acquire an angle from a curved surface? That kind of believing anything stupid nonsense that you are utilising. Believing that you can describe an angle acquisition for an eclipse from inside the ball? Is that what you think, you stupid man?
Anything. And if you're interested in learning more about the Earth, the Sun, and how the fact that we're hurling through space.
No, we're not hurling through anything. To describe orbital motion requires you derive a radial value for your ball to bifurcate on an orbital path. You require we infer that Venus has the same radial value as Earth. You require that radial value is derived from flat Earth angle acquisition from a flat planar surface. You require that the distance to a geometric horizon you've inferred boats fall over without any practical application requires surface level altitude measurements perpendicular to sea level. You require eye level be parallel with surface level so you can acquire a dip angle measurement to said tangent point in orthographic view in your own mathematics that's got it labelled as surface level. Level, you dumbass. So you want to infer that you've got orbital motion? No, you'll need a flat earth to acquire this bullshit you believe in. So no. What you can do is believe clowns, idiots, who haven't been through a decent education and don't know how an angle works. That'd be Tyson.
What is it, 17,000 miles per hour? Is that what we're going?
Wow, man, he keeps firing them off. I can't keep up. The space he appealed to is length, width, and height. That's a planar description. When you say space, try to say outer space, you're confusing out with up. And so it's an oxymoron. There's only space in the plane we observe it with. So he appealed to space, and then he just said a speed that requires a linear distance.
Yeah, miles per hour is a flat Earth prerequisite also.
Did you just pull that number out of your...
I did. You know where I pulled it from. So you should consider all of this and consider checking out Brilliant, whether you are an added 19th prime number. If you like what you see and you want to watch more videos from Star Talk, hit the subscribe bar and click the little button that gets you notifications every time that we put up a video. And don't forget to like and comment below with a topic of your own that you've been dying to get to the bottom of. All right.
I mean, I'll just put it out there. Why would you guys stereotype an entire community based on your misapprehension about how angles are acquired from surface level? That's a question for you. Why would you do that? Why would you strawman a measurement into being about how a community believes something when you believe in a violation of your own measurements? That's surface level, eye level, perpendicular altitude. Why is it that you believe you can violate your own measurements? That seems really, really stupid. I would describe that as a lack of education on your part, like a failure in the people who educated you, like a failure in every teacher that you ever had. Carl Sagan would be turning in his grave, wouldn't he, Tyson? He'd look down his nose at you and pity you for being poorly educated when you violate your own axiomatic measurements of surface level to give you 1.2 times the square root of the observer's measured height off sea level. When you defy how Columbus would have acquired his positional information with elevation, that's from surface, measurements, that's geometry, of angles to the stars that you inferred makes the ground curve? You dumbass. I'm interested why you're so stupid, Tyson. What happened? Poor education? Is it the government's fault?
Isn't it funny though, watching that now and then pulling that apart, and then he's got the goal, like you just said, Nev, I'm just repeating what you've said, really, to call us like uneducated and stupid ad hom attack, when what he's just done throughout that entire video was just all absolute nonsense, contradictory nonsense.
I think this time around, whoever picked it out, I think it was you that suggested we cover this video, right, One Deck? There is a lot more flat Earth prerequisites that we definitely wouldn't have noticed if we've covered this previously, which we probably have.
Yeah,
any other comments?
Maybe. I don't.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, yeah, you may have done. I can't remember covering it. You may have done it long time ago. But one of my points I always point to you guys is when I first got into flat Earth we was being thrown them points back to us by Globers, especially Eratosthenes, and at that time I didn't know how to rebuttal that. I thought, God, they've given me that globe bloody proof again, with them elevation angles and the distances between the cities and the well. You didn't know any of that, and I was thinking, how can I get out of this one? And look at us now. We just pull it apart.
Any other comments?
I was going to say, I've watched some of your earlier debates, like back, I guess, the Isle of Man days. I watched some of them, and there was a lot. Like, if you went back and watched it in your free time, and that's something that, the audience can do, how many times it was just let slip by because nobody had focused on it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Why is that, John? They were looking for curve. That's why.
Absolutely correct. So the way that the book I've just finished summarizes itself towards the end of the chapters is to go through exactly that. So the Isle of Man, which was very early in the story of Flat Earth debate, comes very late in the book for that reason. So it's pointing out all of the things that we whistled past, with the final story being about my very first interview with Robin Poe, where she's describing how out in Ferrari, Italy, she's trying to get relay stations to connect at 25 miles. But because of the altitude of the mountain range, it obscured her view for the relays. So she points her transceiver at the original source over 100 miles away and gets a perfect signal. Now, in her description to me, she's delighted because there's no Earth curve in the way at 100 plus miles. On reflection, 10 years down the road, you go, so you've got 100 miles. That's a flat Earth horizontal linear distance measurement. So you've got 25 miles between the relays. That's a horizontal linear distance measurement. You've got the altitude that you're up with respect to the mountain range that's in the way of the relay. That's a perpendicular altitude measurement from sea level. So before you've described any of the actual functional usefulness of the relay connection and how there wasn't an Earth curve derived from a measurement of surface level at 1.22 times the square root of your observer's height in feet, means that there is an Earth curve in the way, whistling past every single flat Earth prerequisite that there is. With Isle of Man, we whistled past the measurements that we got in physical reality with tape measures, how their altitude to describe them in any way functional required you accept, before you did anything, that the height was perpendicular to a plane of reference at sea level, that the distance to the Isle of Man was 30 miles, measured horizontal and linear, as per the scales on Google Earth. You had to whistle past all of it. So like we said at the beginning of the show, you can talk about how Earth's not spherical as a flat earther, assisting the ball Earth paradigm with every discussion, losing the moment you open the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, and start punching in flat Earth values of height and distance without so much as a care or leave. Who cares that it's a flat Earth linear distance in miles? Who cares that we need our altitude off sea level? I wonder if there's any Earth curve in the way. That's what I should be doing as a flat earther? No. You go, how far do you say this island is away? 30 miles. Earth's flat. What do you mean Earth's flat? Well, if it's 30 miles, that's a horizontal linear distance that we're going to be working with. So if we accept the distance to the Isle of Man is 30 miles, Earth's flat. If you don't accept that we've got a 30-mile horizontal linear measurement, we can't punch the value into the calculator because you don't accept it. You do accept that we've got a 30-mile flat linear distance. Why are we punching it into an Earth curve calculator? We've already got the measurements of a flat Earth. 30 miles of them. So why do we need to do anything with it? Oh, we need to use the flat Earth measurements of distance, use our perpendicular height off sea level on a plane of reference that's shared for both the point of observation and the observation in the distance at 30 measured flat miles. Okay, so we just ignore all of those flat measurements, and then we can say whether or not Earth curve got in the way. Yeah, peachy. Now we just go 30 miles is flat, take it or leave it. Oh, you don't want to accept it? Well, then we're not going to be working with anything. Oh, you do want to accept how flat Earth must be for this horizontal linear distance? Then we've got a measured flat Earth with a horizontal linear distance. End of discussion.
Yeah, and Nathan, you gotta give a shout out to those guys that, kept the charade going by saying, you know what, I'll give you a flat Earth. They do.
Oh, shout out to conspiracy cats, who essentially conceded how flat Earth must be to describe perspective and the Rayleigh criterion. To quote him, I'll give you a flat Earth for that. Yeah, you're damn right you will. You won't be giving it to me, you'll require it to be measured that way to describe perspective. Or in the case of the two Muppets, Neil deGrasse Tyson and Chuck, you'll need a flat Earth horizontal linear altitude measurement perpendicular to sea level. And you'll need to describe a distance to a geometric horizon in linear flat miles or kilometres. You'll have to accept just how flat Earth is to get elevation angles and decry Earth's flatness when describing the story of Christopher Columbus. That's what you'll have to do. Obviously, the moment you've got a flat Earth measurement to utilise or a flat Earth altitude to utilise, you've got a flat Earth measurement that you can't ignore. And you'll need them, all of them. You, numpties watching on the ball side, require Earth be measured flat. Right, any last words before we round out the live show? Oh, with that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow.
Exactly.
But we've outgrown both sides of the discussion at this point.
Yes, that's
Right.
correct. Yep. Like I was telling you, we're in a 24/7, and they're just abusing people because they don't know enough about the globe. They know. I know more about heliocentrism than you do. How fast does it go? Huh? What's the radius? You don't even know.
I mean, that's
Well,
bad news
I
for me. I
know.
mean, as funny as this is, Neil, that's bad news for me because what I've effectively done over the last 12 months is alienate both sides of the audience. The audience being the old school anti-flat earthers and anti-globers who both want to sniff their own farts about how much heliocentric knowledge they've acquired and lord it over next man. In this case, your example is of flat earthers seeing a normie who just believes in a ball come in to mock flat earthers in name only, and what he's met with is anti-globers telling that man how much more they know about his religion than he does.
That's correct. And I told you doing that years ago when we first started. You're going to make enemies on both sides. But you know what? This is the proper progression of it. Am I right, One Deck? This is the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah, it was good to look at that old video and just how we dealt with it, especially Nathan, pulling it to bits. And we all had a few comments on it, and John was early on. And like you say, that wouldn't have happened 5 years ago or something, would it? Not to that extent anyway. So yeah, it's good to go over some of these old supposed globe proofs.
So,
And,
so Nathan, what's better to do, Nathan? Just appease people and just continually debunk a globe so you don't have enemies, or just continue to try to? Well, it's not even setting people straight anymore. What is it that we do, Nathan?
Well, what we've done is made ourselves redundant in terms of the discussion because there isn't one. We've recognised that the point of having a flat Earth debate is to keep the perpetuation of the globe lie in place from both sides. So both sides argue about how globe-shaped it is, and both sides whistle past flat Earth measurements. We come along and go, well, both sides require flat Earth measurements, so there is no discussion. So from the point of view of the discussion and the audience I've said we've alienated, we've alienated them because we've said, what you're discussing is redundant. You're ignoring how flat it must be measured to have a discussion about how heliocentric it isn't.
So is that not true? It is true. So there's nothing you can do about it.
No, there's nothing I can do about it. It will appeal to normies. When normies go, well, okay, what's the bread and butter of this discussion? And you go, well, the bread and butter of this discussion is all the measurements of Earth are flat. That's the end of the discussion. And they go, well, hold on, it's globe-shaped. You go, well, no, the inference that it's globe-shaped requires you measure it flat also. Here's a measurement of Earth's surface level for angles. That's what you're making your radial value with. That's how you derive sphericity and put it into orbital motion inside a ball on an orbital plane that's been scaled with Venus having the same R value that's derived from a flat Earth measurement of angle also. That's how Earth's measured to give you out-of-the-box heliocentric thinking, originally offered to the boffins in the church, not for you, the layman, to believe you're actually stood on a sphere, but so they could better understand the movements of the lights with the use of their flat Earth angle measurements of the lights. But the out-of-the-box thinking that derived sphericity from the flat Earth measurements doesn't change the surface level measurements. You can't change surface level, it's level. That's what we measure. Making every single argument for or against a globe completely and utterly redundant.
Right, because you're talking about reality and how we measure things. And when you measure, it's to know, it's not to guess, right? You can calculate after that, but it has to adhere to the measurement. So, right, everything else is redundant. Earth is measured flat. So we continue on. I think we had a good time doing that video today. I mean, it doesn't mean the show's going to end, does it?
No, not at all.
Are you jumping the shark?
Far from it. Jumping the shark. I mean, that's how people would see it if they want there to be a debate. They're like, well, what, you're destroying that. You're destroying the concept of there being a debate. I'm like, I can't help that. If all sides must measure Earth flat, how can I concede to there being a debate anymore? I can't. Doesn't mean there won't be a show, so long as there's heliocentrists, so long as people think that their mathematically derived ball is actually a ball to stand on, then there'll always be a show.
Well, that shout out to you too, because you took that stance against Bob with the scientific method, right? Knowing it was going to cause damage. And you're also making a statement right now. When you decided that, you know what, and you realize that this is all redundant, it's measured flat. I mean, it takes guts to do that when you got a show. And the show is called Flat Earth Debate. Right? So shout out to Nathan. Pretty good.
Yes, I'm very brave.
Yeah. Intelligent risk taking, I think they call it. But yeah,
Exactly.
very, very. But I think a lot of the people, like we're saying, yeah, it's redundant. There's no argument. There's no debate. You just got to accept the facts. Some people are finding, even though some people know this, even so-called flat earthers, they still want the argument. They still want that because they've been doing it for so long. It's part of them. They're finding it difficult to let it go, aren't they?
Well, yeah, because there's something, but that's an internal thing that they got to look at. They got to look inwardly and say, am I trying to be the guru? Am I trying to be the guy that lords it over them? Like, look how much knowledge I have of this heliocentric system that we don't live on. And you think we live on it, but I know more than you. Na 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 na. What is that?
Don't know.
I mean, we all
like
were there.
You've spent how many years you've spent arguing about where the curve should be and talking about the nonsense. Fighting and arguing about how flat the Earth is, but not quite getting there, and just thinking, why can't I just get there with this and tell this glober how it is flat and I can prove it? Now you've got that proof, and they don't want to use it.
Right, because there's no growth there. What I'm saying, I was reflecting on it, and the Flat Earth Debate, there's a growing process, and we've reached this point. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. We're at this point, and what's the next phase? I don't know. I guess we'll see. But we're not stunting our growth by continually debating about how it's not a globe.
Yeah, I've said that myself, Neil. We've spoke about it before. We're at that point, aren't we, of the calm before the storm sort of time, where we've hit this point now. And what is the next step? Where's this road going to lead to now, Nathan?
Well, that's the problem. We've had to dig down to the ontological basement of shape, motion, direction, everything about how we express it. And when we found it, it needed a flat plane. So it's not really growth. It's more of a epistemological study.
No. The growth on our part should just continue and not resist it. There's a lot of people resisting, the nature of the reality that we live in because they want to argue about a globe. When I say growth, it takes growth to move away from that.
Yeah, I think I know what John means. Like, I know you said we're all saying, John, yeah, but it's not growth because it was always been measured flat. I think, Neil, we were talking about how we would deal with the Tysons of the world.
That's correct.
Yeah, how we deal with that as in a growth. But yeah, as in growth, we've just come back round to what we should have known in the beginning anyway, which was
right.
It's always been measured flat.
Yeah, like you said, if you go to the Alaman days, you'll see people starting off sentences with sea level, right? What was that? It was game over right there. As soon as somebody said sea level, as soon as somebody said horizontal plane, as soon as somebody said horizon. But like I say, I think it's because we were all looking for that elusive curvature because that's what we were told. We live in a globe. So some people are not growing past that. They're still looking for curvature. And they say they're flat earthers, but they're asking people for the measurements of curvature instead of just saying it measures flat. You know what I mean?
Right. So they're anti-globers if they're questioning measurements of curvature. That's an anti-glober. If you're just pointing at the measurement we do have, that's what makes it Earth.
The Greeks had them angles. Like I say, that video, 8 years old, you'll still get people, school children watching that. The teacher explaining, just watch this. Mr. Neil deGrasse Tyson will explain to you how we know the Earth is spherical, not round, spherical. Just watch the video, he'll explain it. And most people will still skip past it. You've got to be involved. You've got to get involved with this topic and start looking into, you've got to think I don't think we do live on a sphere for whatever reason, start looking into it. But just as a normal layman person, like that would, you'd just believe what he's just told you. You wouldn't pick up on the angles, the distance. Normal Joe will still not do it.
Well, somebody said it in chat. Somebody said, listen to him. He's getting into that hypnotic tone. He's doing the Neil deGrasse hypnotize. When he started talking about the world, listen to his voice, how it goes into this, like, I'm going to hypnotize you now. Pay attention, because now you're going to see how Earth was always a sphere.
He's definitely a professional public speaker. You can tell by his cadence. Definitely.
Yeah, maybe, but he still stammered over a few of the words and explanations.
Yeah.
He's having to think about his phraseology. Me says, you're being careful with your words. I often have to think about what I'm saying, and therefore it'll come out at a slightly disjointed pace because you haven't necessarily pre-planned the words that are coming out of your mouth. Whereas there's certain things that I talk about that don't have any cadence change. They're very smooth and fluid as they flow out of me because it's rhetoric, right? Rhetorical information that I've used before. What some might say, that's your script. You're like, yeah, in other words, it's your pre-rehearsed words that you've said a million times before. But in the case of Tyson, when he's interacting with Chirk, he's having to describe things and contrast them with the actual measurement acquisition so he stays consistent. So he can't be called a liar. Now, in so doing, that's deceptive. You're having to plan how the phraseology can be corrected to spherical when you're strawmanning your opponent with a heliocentric penny in an orbital motion, but then keep to the word circular when describing the acquisition of an angle inside the equatorial plane of Earth's spherical surface that you're not measuring from anymore. Well, he kept that concise, but with a little bit of hesitation that inferred that he was having to think a little bit about making sure the information stacked up. Now, when he did that, I'm like, that means you are thinking about it. It's not just, you know your stuff, balls to bones, it's flowing out of you as rhetoric. It isn't. He's got to think about it. Well, what kind of person does that? Well, the kind of person that's out to deceive. They don't want to be caught out and get the information wrong, because then someone can say, well, how'd you get an angle then if it's from a spherical surface? And he doesn't want to be caught out like that. So you're like, well, then your intention is to deceive. That's why you're having to think about it.
Come on, man.
Yeah. It's like when he, like he said, and he said seafarers, I don't know if he said had to imagine the Earth was flat or may have imagined the Earth was flat. He's dropping that one, isn't he? Dropping that bomb. Like, yeah, it looked flat. They probably dealt with it flat. They imagined it was flat because he's dropping it there. I've really picked up on that part as well. Crafty bugger.
If you go by that standard, though, Nathan, wouldn't it make Danny Faulkner, when he spoke to me, that would make him a liar, wouldn't it?
Yes,
That's
very
correct,
much so.
John.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I absolutely think that. What you mean when he was having to carefully plan out his next sentence for 55 seconds? Yes.
I'll take that under advisement.
I mean, what they put themselves through to keep the deceit alive. What the brain and the mind has to go through.
Yeah, but with Danny Faulkner, it's different, one deck, because he's got a major following, right? He's this Christian, what is he, astronomer? Whatever he is, I don't know what he is, but it's not science.
Yeah, that's
and he sells books. He's part of freaking, what is that part of the Christian thing he's got? He's part of a group. I forgot the name of it. Answers in Genesis. Yeah. So, he's got to keep to that. And no matter what, that's why he hangs around flat earthers so much. Because he needs to learn the lingo, because he needs to know how to communicate it to his audience as he continues to deceive them that we're living on a sphere according to scripture. So he needs to know that lingo. And yeah, taking a minute to freaking respond to something, you're thinking hard about what you're going to say.
I must have missed that. I can't remember. I remember you guys talking about. I mustn't have been in when that John was having that conversation. I missed that.
On deck, I just came in. I didn't know who they were talking to. All I heard is a guy taking forever to come up with an answer. I forgot what I said, but Nathan shut me down. Then Refracted said, have some respect. He has a PhD. Something to that effect. Then I clicked. I knew it was I knew who it was at that moment. And I just stepped back. I didn't say another word. Then Adam also came in, did not know who the hell it was. But yeah, He was deceiving. So he had to stop, think, can't just rattle it off because I'll be proving Earth is flat. If I do that, I got to really think about what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, he was having to deny measurement as a means of creating a model. That's what it come down to. And he was trying to word it around that because he knew if he had went to measurement, he was in trouble.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He would have been proven Earth is flat. That's why he stood far away from measurement, John.
Well, isn't that the case? Yeah. Don't talk about the measurements. You know, let's just skip past them measurements and talk about the calculation and the mathematical calculation after the measurement. We'll do that.
Well, it was done that way for years. Why change, right? We did it that way for years. We went right past all the flat Earth prerequisites that they were laying down for us as we're looking at the difference between two buildings. How much freaking is lost to curvature, or how much is gained, whatever the hell you want to say. We were guilty of it too.
He got a compliment. What was disagreed with by, I think it was Wandek or Neil in the live show, saying, well done, that's a stretch for the 3D Cartesian system. I won't give his surname in case he doesn't want it to get out there, but Michael sent me an email. Bravo. The way you explain science is great, and the way you describe refracted points of how everything beginning in measurements of any size and distance in a 3D reference is a real-world application was perfectly executed. Hope you have a great day, Nathan.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice one.
And that's another reason that they bring up the word model, because they are hiding behind it and they need to reify it and say that the model explains whatever observations we do. Danny Faulkner also did that, and just like we witnessed today, even Neil deGrasse Tyson did that.
Yes, we talked about that in the pre-show as well, where they take it and want to remove it. When they project from a globe to a flat map and say that the distortions are caused by the conversion to flatness, when in reality, this use of the word model is so they can take a flat Earth, plan it out with coordinates, convert it to sphericity, and then from that, which will give them eventually heliocentric model derivation, insert a flat world into their already existent, at that point, globe reification. So in today's example, we've got a flat Earth acquisition to give you heliocentric orbital motion, and then the orbital motion describing a shadow from a flat plane within a ball that's a glorified compass, a protractor. Then you substitute the globe that you're in to give you an angle with a flat penny and say how the shadow wouldn't match as a straw man. But then you've extrapolated out from your flat measurements to a heliocentric model and then convert that model back into a flat world and see how that works within that model and say that the conversion to sphericity, and not mention that you're inside a ball, works perfectly. So you're removing yourself from the origin of the claim, which is the flat measurements, and then seeing which model after the fact works best. So everybody can use the flat world measurements to create a sphere model, or everybody else can use the flat world measurements to create a flat model after converting it from the sphere model. So everybody will argue from the perspective of sphericity, regardless of whether or not you're a flat earther or a globe believer, and both sides can utilize the flat measurements without recognizing them in the first instance. Very clever.
Yep. But go back to the Eratosthenes, like that was, well, that was their globe measurements when we skipped past it and didn't know how to handle it, sort of thing. And now it's like, well, all right then, where's your flat Earth measurements? Well, Eratosthenes, of course.
Did you ever think one decade that would be, when you first got hit with it, like me, you were like, ah, shoot. Like when I got hit with the triangle, the 3 points. Ah, shoot, what am I going to do with this? Turn it around and make it a flat Earth proof. Eratosthenes and Alberoni, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it's a killer. A killer. That's why Dave Triangles McKeegan knew my game and what I was up to, because he also knows. When I want to talk about Eratosthenes and Alberoni, your globe proof measurements, let's see how that goes down then. Let's get into a bit of detail.
You want to
about
welcome me to a flat Earth? I know your game, one deck.
Yeah, you're going to need a perfectly straight baseline, right, Dave? And the globe doesn't have that.
But that's what they have to.
The what doesn't have that?
I still remember back in 1928. Yeah, him saying that. It's a absolute eye opener. Yeah, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, you're measuring a flat Earth, Dave. When he was using his syringe and the height off the table and all that other stuff in a box and stuff. Yeah, all requiring a horizontal plane of reference.
No, I'm talking about the globe. I heard somebody say you can't beat out a globe or something. Who said that?
Yeah. That was Dave McKeegan. I'm quoting Dave McKeegan when he's referring to the elevation angle, and that you're stating the way he speaks. But yeah, he's going to need a perfectly straight baseline, and the globe doesn't have that.
But then you'll get them.
Everyone measures the Earth flat that's ever done it. Go ahead, one deck.
Just saying, we're going over sort of a little bit of we've repeated it. They have Toon, McKeegan. They have to now admit, and they do that. Yeah, we do measure it flat. It's just easier to do that, and it's local. So they're at that point now where they can't deny it. We've been shoving it down the throat. Eratosthenes, Alberoni. Any surveyor's measurement and navigation mapping sea level, mean sea level, it is flat and level. Now they know this. So how can you work? They can't deny it. Some people, some lunatics like the Czech guy will deny it and say, well, level's curved, but then you're talking to a lunatic at that point. But then your triangles who's got YouTube channels can't. Well, I think he has actually tried to state level is curved at one point somehow, but he will just say his easy way around it is, well, yeah, we do sort of show it horizontally because it's just easier to do. The Earth's huge. It's just easier to do it this way.
I think that's how they got that song from in the 80s. A lunatic French, we all know you're out there. You're in hiding. That's the Ballers. You got to be a lunatic. Think about that. For years, they had us believing that we lived on a freaking ball. You can't say it any other way.
Yeah. And we live on a ball, but it's a waste of time measuring the curvature of the ball. Might as well measure it flat and then do a bit of mathematics and calculate it into the ball. That's much easier that way, mate.
Well, Tyson said it spins so fast that it starts to flatten. Why is it flattened? Oh, because it's spinning so fast. It's like they would just say these things, and look at the guy Chuck. He just accepted everything. Yeah.
I mean, that is his job, though. I mean, quite literally, Chuck is just a yes man. That's what he's there for.
But Nathan, even if he wasn't there, if he would have went to a freaking school and done that, he would just be accepting it.
Yeah, but that's what he's representing, isn't it? Chuck is there to represent you as a nodding dog. Yeah. That's his purpose. He represents you, the audience.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my point. No matter what he says, is going to be accepted, not challenged in any way.
I mean, I wonder if there's any other old sort of discussion points like we could sort of. I enjoyed that today. We've not done a video for a while. It was a little bit of a change. We've been working on a book, haven't we, and other stuff. So
I think you're going to enjoy tomorrow's video if Nathan does it. Michael Kahn sent one to me. He said, I just found this. I think Nathan will enjoy this one if you haven't done it already. But yeah, they speak about what happens when you flatten Earth. I listened to a couple of seconds of it. It's talking about how they've done the measurements of Earth, you know? But they're insinuating that when you flatten it, you're distorting continents, when it's really the other way around.
Well, when you flatten the globe, you are distorting the measurements.
Right.
Just like when you curve the planar measurements, you're distorting them.
Correct.
So it's like double distortion versus single distortion, and whichever distortion is least distorted is correct. Like, what?
Well, yeah, well, that's what that Alpha Murphy 72 guy's problem is. And it's
No, that was a
things that are not in
gap.
their proper location.
In terms of audio, when you describe distortion, full stop, you're describing a deviation from flatness. That is to say, in frequency response terms, if you say something is distorted, it means that the standard is that you've got a linear flat line for all of the frequencies as represented, and anything that deviates from that flat line is distortion. So distortion in and of itself is deviation from flatness in audio terms.
That's nice. When did you come up with that one? When did you come up with that one?
It's not that I've come up with it. It's just that's just what distortion is.
Yeah,
It's
but
like
when
a-
did you
that's
link it
what-
together? That's what I'm saying. Just now?
And just because John was
sounds
saying
like,
about distortion, and it's like, well, what is distortion? Well, in audio terms, it's a deviation from flatness, in the most literal sense.
it's like an audio. It's an audio map, isn't it? As you picture it, the flat horizontal line is sea level, and then your distortion for your sound is either going above it or below it. That's your elevation profile. So it's just a musical map.
It's an audio graph.
Yeah. I mean,
It'd be more like your optical plane, and just straight lines, all divergent from your eye or your ear, and that's how you describe distortion.
yes.
Well, when they
you-
discovered distortion in rock and roll, that was like the discovery. Jimi Hendrix is freaking honored for what he did with distortion.
Indeedy.
Well, I say we might start stumbling across other. We've got it nailed down. You got sea level, everything we talk about, latitude measurements, elevation angles, celestial navigation, straight and level flight, all that. But not that we need any other proof now, because that's it. But something else just might pop up that we've thought, God, why did we never notice this?
Yeah, I'm wondering
like-
about that. How can that be? Because to me, in my mind, you can't measure it any more flat than what it is. Now, you may come up with another measurement that we weren't seeing that they utilize, but I don't think we're going to come up with another proof that it's flat.
Yeah, you're right, because we know it's measured flat, But like you say, yeah, it'd be something else. Like, the pitch data came along, didn't it? And then worked out about latitude. And so there'd be something else that says, well, there's another way. Like Nathan, I'm only thinking that because Nathan just explained the sound distortion. That's another nice example of, horizontal lines and above and below. It's just because that's the way it works. Everything is working that way, isn't it? It has to, because that's the way it's designed on this.
Well, you
place
need that
we live.
horizontal plane to describe it from.
All we will do moving forward, in my opinion, is dissect the magic trick of making measurements about people. So in Tyson's opener in that video that we just covered, he very quickly takes the measurement out of the supposition that's going to be discussed and makes it about the idiots that believe Earth's flat really quickly. So he juxtaposes a group and their thoughts over and above the measurements to make you feel like you're ignorant if you believe that there's a flat plane. When in reality, to do so, he's got to make a model of a globe based on flat plane measurements and then suggest that we have a derivation of his now in existence spherical world when the flat planar disk that he put in orbit works within his convention. So then it's about how stupid the people are rather than how flat it's measured. And then he can use the flat measurements to suggest a plane rather than us doing it.
Yeah, correct, Nathan. And you're correct, because he opened up with it and he closed with it.
Yep. How stupid are the people? That's what we need to focus on here.
Yeah, make it about people and go ahead.
No, sorry, mate. Go on, you go for it. Go.
Oh yeah, it's just the same old rhetoric, poisoning the well fallacy and making it about people when the Earth's just measured flat.
Yep.
And we were all over it towards every single little word he used. Space, ding, the horizontal plane of reference and the 3D measurements that you're going to be using for Cartesian grid systems, so forth, other measurements towards elliptical values and everything. Yeah, you're all going to require the horizontal plane of flat Earth. Or you said up. Yeah, up in reference to the horizontal plane of sea level. Yeah, of our flat Earth. Yeah, every little single word. We were all over it. Yeah.
The depth of the well.
Exactly.
Oh, how deep it is. Really?
Yeah.
It made me laugh, though. If he would have used 3 wells, well, he didn't.
His low pseudo-geometry was going to come into play. No, you're still going to be measuring the elevation angle.
He
from
could use
Earth.
10 wells if he wants.
Listen, Neil, the more elevation angles you've got across a larger distance, the bigger the curve.
Yeah, it could be 1,000,000 times bigger ball. Just ask our beloved friend there, Mr. Weiss.
Well, Dave Weiss, listen. Perhaps when Nathan reaches out to him again, he may be open. Let's not poison a well. We don't need him.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. It doesn't have to be World War III.
He reaches a lot of people, so I think it would be good if Nathan reaches out to him. But it all depends on how he feels. If he's got feelings about it, or if he's going to be honest about it and realize that we're on the cutting edge.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be World War III. The Earth's measured flat.
Well, Nathan always tried to go in and because he gets around. He can't deny that. And he wanted to equip him better to represent because, listen, they're going to represent us if you like it or not. If you're a flat earther and he goes on a show, he's representing you. So it was always to try and arm them better. Now it's not even about arming. It's about just educating them and it being measured. When it's measured, that supersedes everything. There's no need for debunkings anymore. Now you're going to show them how Earth is measured through mapping, celestial navigation, anything, whatever you want to use. You're going to show them that it requires Earth to be flat. So I think he'll be open for that.
But like you said, Neil, some people don't want to. Some people realise this the measurements, but they don't. They want to keep hold of this, their rhetoric and the way they deal with things, and they don't want it to end. And yeah, Nathan's done. I said intelligent risk taker. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, he's Nathan's just being truthful. That's where the road. That's where we are on the road now. That Nathan's separated them. We're in the middle, and you either get it and jump on board, or you don't get it. You're going to keep arguing. Buy an argument book if you need that. But yeah, it's. I'm really pleased Nathan's gone down this road that has led to a flat Earth. Where this road will take us next, I don't know. But it's going to be good, I reckon.
Oh, it's like what can you compare to that? I'm trying to think of a good comparison to illustrate the position Nathan's taking. Maybe Refracted could come up with one.
Yeah, but while you're thinking what you're saying, he stepped out the box. Yeah? Stepped out the box. He's made a move. It's like a chess game. He's made this move now, and something's gonna happen with this move. And I think once the book's out, people start reading the book. It's all in the book now. Back, to put this point across, so you can have a read of it, and can't wait for the book now.
I'm trying to figure out by making everything redundant and inconsequential. What he's actually, that's what he's actually done. Blame Refracted for that. If you still wanted to argue about a globe, you could point your finger at Refracted, starting with the bunk and debunk, and then just giving him everything, right? Conceding to everything. And then that turns into everything's going to require a flat plane of reference.
Oh, no, who's that guy? Who's that Nigel guy? Yeah, he wrote that poem. What was he called? Nigel Soprano something. He wrote that poem, didn't he? The globe is measured flat. And remember, we all used to laugh at him, saying you can't say things like that.
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense.
No. See, Nigel Soprano, he said it. One deck heard it and wrote a poem about it. Huh?
Yeah. He started calling you Adam.
The measurements are not yours, they're mine. Nathan just wasn't listening to me. He was always listening to Refracted, his special boy.
Your special boy.
Come on, Refracted, help me out. What is that like a comparison to? I'm trying to do like a quarterback making himself inconsequential. I can't figure out the comparison I could make, the analogy I could make to what Nathan stepped out and doing.
Well, it's like instead of playing the game, he's deleting the software that they're playing the game on.
Yeah, something like that, or he's changed the rules. Not the rules. There's no rules, is there? He's changed. Bloody hell, I can't think.
He's doing something. Like I'm trying to compare, like when he stepped out on that limb with the scientific method and Bob Nodell, right? Took a stand there because what mattered is that they understood that what they were doing was not science, even though it had nothing to do with flat Earth anyway. But that's where we were at the time. But he took a chance, and he tried to explain it to them, and they just wanted to continue on their little experiment that they didn't have. So he stepped out.
Talking about the instrument that holds a fixed plane of reference.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, they had an experiment with the face.
Yeah, but what we're saying is, like, Nathan could have thought, well, you know what, I'm probably correct in saying this, a lot of the people, and I think Nathan's even said people have unsubscribed and left, and a lot of an audience dropped, right? So because people liked Nathan, arguing and shouting and screaming at these idiots who were saying level was curved. That's what they enjoyed. Nathan's saying, no, not doing that anymore, right? We started off doing, we spoke about it, and I spoke to Nathan about it early on, like, you could tell with the McKeegan, that's where I got it from, McKeegan videos. You could tell Nathan was getting, he didn't like it where he was taking him. So he's like, well, we're not going to do these idiots anymore. We're going to drop them idiots, because why are we doing this when, let's bring some normal people who measure the earth and see how they're just proving the point that we're trying to make. So that was part of the switch over as well. And now Nathan could have thought, well, if I don't continue doing what I'm doing, my show might take a hit, and I'm going to take a money drop, and I'm going to lose followers and things like that. But he's obviously thought about that and thought, well, you know what? I'm going to do the right thing.
Well, you got to think about the type of people you're going to lose. You're losing people who don't want to know anything. They just want to argue about something.
Right.
So you're not really losing the kind of people that I would want to surround myself with.
Yeah, but you don't want to lose any when you're running a YouTube channel, right? If you put Nathan's YouTube hat on, you really don't want to lose anybody.
Yeah. So, but Nathan's took it to, like, well, I'm going to do this now because Nathan's, this is what he does. He's not a Dave Weiss, is he? Or a fucking just doing it for the sake of doing it. Well, yeah, it is the money. I know, Nathan. Yeah, we all need the money.
I think
Nathan
he cares. You're trying to express how he cares about truth and what reality is, right? Over just freaking going along with everybody and continuing to argue, with people and going into these arenas as the lion ripping globers apart because that's what people want. He's taking a risk. He's stepping out there and saying this is all inconsequential. It's not even needed. Because all we're talking about here is measurements.
And nobody's doing that. Nobody's done that.
The existence of the idea that there is an argument is enough for normal people to tune out. You have lost the minute you enter into debate with people that have 95% of the consensus behind them. You've lost.
Yep.
What we're saying is Nathan's doing the right thing, and what he's doing is you're stripping out the dead wood. You're getting rid of the crap. Yeah. You're removing the crap and thinking, right, what we got now? Who we left with? But in him doing that, he's took a bit of a risk, but it's going to be an intelligent risk. That intelligent risk taking. Now, nobody's done this. Nobody's got a book out like Nathan's.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, everybody's saying how great they are, and Nathan's saying how inconsequential we are. Everybody else is patting themselves on the back. The great globe debunkers. I will destroy. I'm the globe destroyer, the globe terminator, right? The globe debunker. And I will take you to how much knowledge you know about heliocentrism, and I'll shove it down your throat. And it's like Nathan's taking a step back and taking a humble approach, like this all means nothing. Because once
think about it from the observer's point of view, who's just you got 15 seconds of their time, and all you're doing within your 15 seconds is stating how the person who believes it's a globe should be believing something else about how it's a globe. Have you really done anything beneficial to somebody that's just glancing at the subject? Or do they think you're on for being a flat earther?
No, what you're doing there is you're reifying the globe even more. You're continually bringing that to life instead of bringing reality to the forefront of how it's measured. And that'll be flat.
You can only talk about the measurement. You can't talk about anything else. You can't talk about so-called videos from NASA from a place called space. That's not a measurement. You can't talk about an observation of something, the crosshairs of a theodolite up a mountain, and something it appears a little bit lower because the linear distance of the second object is further away, and the height's above sea level. You can refer to the flat earth for that, but it comes down to a measurement, doesn't it? And that's all it boils down to.
All right, let's see. Let's see if listen to this. This is Price of Adam. It's like two kids throwing an imaginary ball, harmless enough. Then FED comes along. What are you doing? There's no ball, and walks off. The kids are left with, yeah, it's not real, and lose the fun. Or we accept it's not real and keep throwing it. Debate ended up being pseudo fun once the measurements were focused on. Does that sound correct?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard to put it in Alex. No?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time too.
It would be like you're in a room and people around you are about whether words exist.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard hitting. We're angry with each other and calling each other all kinds of names about whether words exist.
That's funny. Words don't exist. Yes, they do. You freaking moron. Words exist. No, they do not. You freaking idiot.
If words existed, pi was equal to. You moron.
There you go. Now you're tracking. Pi equals 2, you dummies.
And then, we're sitting there like, well, you got to use words to argue this. What are you going to do?
Look, I can't put it into an analogy. All I know is he's taking a risk. He's stepping out there. It's been going on for a while now, right? Remember when he started, what year was it when he said, you know what, we're going to go with the front foot forward. Our earth is measured flat, right? That's been a few years. So it's not a new thing. You would think by now that it's caught on, at least in some arenas. But I just don't see it. I just keep hearing globe don't work or debunk a globe or people fighting over what a globe can and cannot do or how much you could see on a globe or how you're seeing too far, you're not seeing far enough. It's like, what have we been doing for the past 10 years?
I mean, some of them do. I mean,
we're trained to argue about it. That's how people are trained to argue about it.
Yeah, but when new information comes along, John, you can't just close your eyes to it. And it seems to me, I know one deck you want to get in and say you've been in. Go ahead, you get in there and tell me what happened on the server.
No. I'm sorry, Neil. I was just saying, some of them. I know we've had Jedi on here and all that, but Jedi, I'd listen to him again. He talks about the elevation angle, and he does say our Earth is measured flat. But then in the other breath, he will, with a globe, start arguing the gravity or
gravity.
Yeah, and so. But I think over there, they think this is what people want to hear. What's gravity? I know it's the superseded gravity was a vertical downward direction to horizontal plane and all that. So, but when it just comes down to the measurement, you don't need to really
exactly
talk about it.
Once you got the measurement, gravity goes out the window, heliocentrism goes out the window, everything goes out the window. Because how could you start talking about freaking gravity when I've just demonstrated to you how it's flat? You're not on the globe any longer, right? You've agreed with me about the measurements. You know it's flat. How can you even bring up gravity? Don't make any sense.
The thing you got to do is you got to create a logical extrapolation that makes your existing knowledge ambiguous or possibly incorrect so that it can be put into the unknown. That'll be your first step.
Well, yeah, you're also ushering in false dichotomies when there is none and it's just measured flat. They want to bring up that it's measured flat, but then they want to also bring up the feast of nonsense and anti-globe stuff, and then it's just motivated for them to just be a bunch of arguers when there's nothing to argue about.
Right, and that's why the measurements come as just like a toss-off. It's measured flat. It's like a throwaway proof, you know? They'll talk about the measurements, like, carelessly, but they won't break it down and stay at the measurement. They'll journey off into all these other nonsensical things, like the movement of stars.
Right. With the Mahler, they would say, well, if level was flat, right, then if I measure eye level with respect to someone else's eye level at the same level, at the same elevation, I should be measuring 90 degrees from a vertical to their eye line. When I measure that, they're not 90 degrees to my level.
Oh dear.
So ours must be curving.
Yep. Well, they do that with the two theodolites.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
make believing that the measurement's a if and then conditional statement when no, it's just what it is in reality that you measure the earth flat. Then you're gonna go through the same old nonsense of estimating and extrapolating and approximating and estimating to put it on a ball that you believe that we are, when the first step was just how it was, that you measure the earth flat to get all that.
Why the hell would you want to use a physics theodolite to measure curvature? It's not designed to do that. It measures distance and vertical and horizontal angles.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's part.
Whole circle bearings requiring the horizontal plane of reference. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I'm saying it's one of the 30 words. They don't use that word's banned from describing how Earth curve's measured because, well, there's no Earth curve. But if you try and use a theodolite, I mean, you just stop them right there. It's nothing to do with measuring Earth curve, if there was any. It measures angles and distance.
Yeah,
Is rise over run the same thing as height over distance?
Hey?
Rise over run, is that the same thing as like height over distance?
Yeah, kind of. Rise is the difference in the vertical. Run is the distance in the horizontal. So the rise over the run. How high it is with respect to the horizontal plane you're measuring it with respect to. The rise with respect to the run.
Yeah, it's like your contours on a map, like an OS map. That's showing you the height above the mountain or the hill above the horizontal and the slope, how much it slopes.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's the change of slope in the vertical over the run, the horizontal baseline.
Exactly.
For example, a 1/1 will be a 45-degree angle. It'll be a terrestrial elevation angle.
Oh, dear.
From redundancy of our flat Earth.
Yeah, because when you were describing it, Nathan, I'm saying it sounds like rise over run sounds like height over distance to me.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So anyway, Nathan's back. So we was trying to discuss like what you've done and coming up with like some sort of analogy about it, because you must have, whether it's happened naturally or not, you've put yourself out there and you've took an intelligent risk or a risk of saying, right, this is going to change. This is, I think we was all sort of there, but you've driven it and pushed it forward. There's no argument, there's no debate, everybody's redundant, and it's just measured like that, and that's how it's always been done. And there's people who've dropped out, and there's a bit more division and separation. Was that thought out for you, and how would you explain what's happened in your mind, or is that in the book, by the way?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I think it's more why it's gone that way where others may not have. Where others were motivated financially, I'm less motivated financially. Like, the consequence of losing subscribers by decrying there to be a debate to have might be something that someone else who was more money orientated would have shied away from because they knew it would affect their revenue. For me, I've gone, this is definitely going to affect my revenue. And then I go, oh, fuck them. Why would I need those people around? If they want to debate, then let them. It's like, there isn't one, and I know that. Now, if I just bottle that up or subdue that because it'll affect my revenue stream, then that's a Dave Weiss-esque way of doing things. Well, relinquishment of the azimuthal equidistant North Pole-centric globe projection would mean a drop in revenue, so I better not decry it. A lot of the people who are on my side have tied themselves to that flagpole and they want to remain there. So if I relinquish it, people are going to get pissed off with me. So not caring and going, well, don't let the door eat you on the way out. Because that was my attitude generally. When people would be moaning at me in the comments, but like, well, I'll bugger off unless you do this. Like, go away then. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. You threatening to cut off a section of my revenue stream is never going to really affect me. It's like, that isn't my primary interest. My primary interest in the subject, when I've got my flat earth hat on, is what's the subject about? Where does it lead me? Now, buying into an evergreen subject means that it's exciting enough to constantly be changing. So when we've come across various different housekeeping questions, we've always accepted that this might be tomorrow's chit wrapper. Today's news might seem really important. I remember the Isle of Man seeming so important that we got the distances to some of the sections of the island right so that we could put it through the curve calculator. It seemed really important. When we got it wrong, it seemed devastating. Now you go, like, literally, who cares? We'd even ignored the flat earth prerequisites whilst frustratingly worrying about how flat measurements can be put through a curve calculator to show how wrong it is. But if I'd have just been more orientated to what the audience wanted, that was when 300 odd people were watching, I'd have stuck with that. That would be me buying into the system that's been put in place to keep me, a conspiratard, whistling past flat earth measurements to argue how ball-shaped it is or isn't. Now, there might be plenty of people out there that want that to be the case. The fart-sniffing anti-globers who want to lord it over your average normie who doesn't know much about heliocentrism, or your fart-sniffing anti-flat earthers that want to tell you you're wrong by denying their own globe-shaped rhetoric. Regardless, that's a debate. People want to be in debate. Me, I don't necessarily want to be in debate. I want to understand the subject. But if the subject leads you to the fact that the debate's redundant, as John will quickly highlight, are you going to deny that just because it might affect your revenue? That's dishonest. I can't sit here and look down the camera and call Neil deGrasse Tyson a scumbag and a liar if I'm sitting here thinking, I better not mention how redundant this argument is, it might affect my revenue. I blame my grandma. I blame my grandma, right? She told me that money was the root of all evil incorrectly. And from a very impressionable age, I'm like, well, money's bad then. I better not, concern myself with it. I'll shy away from it. And it's kind of wired me in a weird way, where even though I appreciate that I need money, it's not my primary motivation. So, another example would be the book, right? When QE turned around and went, I want co-authorship, I went, no. It's like, well, you won't get this book then. the one that I'm going to steal. I was like, okay, so it will be to my financial detriment to tell you to go fuck yourself. Don't care. Go fuck yourself. That's what you can do. I didn't say that to him. I just said, no. You're not going to extort co-authorship by stealing something from me and holding it over me and saying, I won't give it you back unless you give me something when I've offered you help with it. Yes, it was to my financial detriment. That's the main thing, but people see you as mercenary if you moan about how much money you've lost as a consequence of someone stealing from you. But that is the reality of it. I had to make a decision. Do I accept the financial detriment that having to start again and work again through another book that's just been robbed from me? Or do I accept that if I just kowtow to some thieving cunt, I'll get what I want and financial reward will follow quickly? I chose the latter because it's like, why would I hang around with somebody that's extorting me? Fuck you. What's that? It'll be to my financial benefit. I don't care. Surprising how little that works on me, eh? But that's got to be a mindset that a lot of people don't have. So I think I'm unique in that regard.
Yeah, that's our point. We're saying that the same thing you did with the scientific method and Bob. It was risky, but you felt that truth and correctness was more important than saving face on a stupid show they should have never been on.
Yeah, well, Bob did the same thing. He was like, well, if you go against me, it will cost you. You know, and when it didn't, he was like, well, I'll make it cost you. I'll tell everyone how bad you are. Now, that's a different story. That's him proactively pushing for me to have a financial detriment in terms of the amount of subscription base I can have if he turns people actively against me. But again, if my only motivation was followers and acceptance societally, I wouldn't have gone on Globebusters at all to tell them how wrong they were. Like, you're utilising flat earth prerequisites in the form of this gyroscopic motion and then suggesting that its faulty nature, that's to say not being a gyro, means that we've got a luminiferous ether, which can be contrasted by our opponents as saying we've got an earth turn demonstrated by a gyro that nobody on the globe side in their right mind would claim was the case. You can't claim that there's a deviation in something that's designed to be fixed in space. It has no useful properties anymore. So you need a scapegoat, Bob Nodell, to stand in for you where you wouldn't dare say that this gyro isn't being a gyro. You need the flat earther to say that. So you can end up having idiot, overgrown 12-year-old boys going, look, here's your flat earth guru showing how there is drift in a gyro. You're like, so what you're suggesting is the gyro isn't remaining rigid in space? Well, it's not useful anymore. But like I say, if you've got a flat earth scapegoat to do that for you, and that flat earth scapegoat, rather than realising that his claim would ultimately infer two reference frames, shortening flight times, has instead lent into luminiferous ether in false dichotomy, like, this needs correcting. This is a nonsense that needs unpacking for the audience. I know it will be to my detriment. I know people won't like it. I know there's been a bait and switch, and I'm essentially turning around to the scammer and going, you've used a bait and switch. That's not going to win me any friends, but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, good on you, mate.
Somebody do the same thing when you say Earth is measured flat. I mean, geez, come on, what are you doing, Nathan?
Well, I've got to admit,
everybody that one.
There's something about the community, aside from the majority of the people in Master B, right? Everybody here, not included. The majority of the people out in the flat earth arena annoy me, and have annoyed me since day one. Like, the second I got here, right, it's like, wow, Earth's flat, what an amazing revelation. Cool, this could be a subject I cover. I wonder who else is around. Immediately, I come across Jesse Spots talking about the Mandela effect. I'm like, my God, you stupid conspiratorial idiot. You're making us all look like idiots. That feeling never went away. Ever. So when people bugger off and go, I'm not going to support you anymore, I'm going to unsubscribe, you're like, kind of good. Good. Because you are, generally speaking, quite irritating. Most of the people in this arena. Now, as we branch away from those people, it's like, well, who are we going to branch into when we describe Earth being measured flat? Normies? Now, I'll be honest, most normies are far more pleasant to be around than most flat earthers. Now, if I can appeal to Normie that he's always been measuring Earth flat and knew it was flat all along, then I get to spend time in the company of people who don't feel my kid should be taken away, or that I'm somehow doing them a disservice by saying there isn't a debate, or pointing out that their oh so valuable information is really inconsequential to how Earth's actually measured, and that means I'm a bad person. Or that suggesting there's a false dichotomy with luminiferous ether versus 2 reference frames demonstrated in a faulty gyro makes Nathan bad. Like, why would I want to be around these people? You know, if you've got no humility and you can't humble yourself when you're demonstrated incorrect, then you're not the kind of person I want to be around. The amount of times I've had to humble myself, and you on the panel included in this, have had to humble yourselves because you've got something wrong. You just have to accept it. You know, now, for a time, you'll have people lording it over you like that makes you a bad person. Well, no. Having the humility to understand when you've got something incorrect, or that the rhetoric's moved on, or that your previous discussion points are now void, is, to some, humiliating, to others, humbling. Now, I'd rather be around the latter category that are humbled by their own ignorance, rather than humiliated by it. Because people who are humiliated by it lash out.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Nathan.
Why it's called eating humble pie.
Yeah, I've eaten plenty.
I'm
sure you all have too.
After show.
Say again, then.
Go on, Nathan.
I'm done. You go.
Like in yesterday's after show, I mentioned something about a Vsauce video I saw probably about 7 years ago, where at my understanding at the time, I thought he was being intellectually honest, where he said that the wells would work on a ball Earth and a flat Earth, but that was long before we came to the comprehension that you need the flat baseline for everything. I don't mind admitting that.
Yeah, we all thought that at one time.
Yeah, I remember Math Powerland doing it.
You
Math Powerland had a lamp, 2 sticks on his flat floor, and he's describing how a local sun would compare to a sun that's far and distant when utilising the angles on a globe. Now you go, well, like Vsauce, Math Powerland didn't realise that he was using flat Earth angles in both instances. But he was. That's not his fault. He just was fed a rhetoric line of how we should argue, and he rolled with it. Unbeknownst to him, what he said here was a comparison between a small and local sun and a big and distant sun, meant that both systems could equally work. You're like, no, you're wrong. Only one will give you angles.
That's correct.
Yep, and that's the flat one.
You don't know what you don't know. So when you do know it, yeah, you eat a little humble pie and say, yeah, I got it wrong.
The thing is, though, the subject's still, like Nathan put, it's evergreen subject, because here we are now. No argument, there's no debate. We can give numerous examples of how it's been measured always and how it is measured, and but we still we still love and enjoy talking about this, even though it's been concluded.
Yeah, it's like when somebody catches you hanging out with scumbags and says, "Hey, caught you hanging out with them scumbags. What the hell are you resisting for?" Just say, "Yeah, my bad. I kind of still like their show, but yeah, I can't get by it. You're right." Sort of something like that, you know?
And you can continue into the enjoyment of how the Earth is measured flat and all the ways that it is measured flat. Then you come into how people start to behave about it, which makes it evergreen, even though it has nothing to do with their behavior and that the Earth's just flat with or I would assume, because it's measured that way from it already being level, created by God.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it evergreen at the moment. It's like, okay, well, our inconsequentiality, if that's the word, for Earth surface level acquisition for measurements is still worthy of discussion. That's to say, how do people react to the fact that Earth will be measured flat regardless of their involvement? Now, there's a good chance that the reason they specifically are involved in this discussion is because they probably won't notice how flat Earth measurements are being applied as they're told by fart-sniffing dweebs and beta cucks about how flat Earth measurements can be put into this curve calculator, and that's how we should argue this point. There's a good chance that if you're a dumbass conspiratard, you won't notice how flat the measurements were when you input them into an Earth curve calculator with the flat prerequisite distance or flat prerequisite altitude. So you need to usher a certain type of individual into this subject. People like Jesse Spots, people who are into conspiracies, people like me. And you think, okay, so I've been used as a tool of offering a controlled opposition. If I'm the opposition and I'm not noticing how flat Earth gets measured and arguing about how bowl-shaped it shouldn't be, or how we shouldn't see this far on a ball, then I'm a tool of propaganda. I'm a controlled opposition tool. Now, I can accept that with a little bit of kind of dismay, like, oh my God, I am the propaganda then. And you're like, yeah, you are. But we can study how that has been the case. Well, you just have flat Earth videos following conspiratorial videos on YouTube, and then that's going to be the people who come to the subject.
Well,
It's like I said. Sorry, it's like I said about 3 years ago, Nathan. Remember when I said all conspiracies lead to a flat Earth? My words.
But what's troubling is there's other servers, and sometimes, like I flipped there last night to see what's up. There's about 50 people there. So it's like they love debating with ballers. I don't know. I don't know if they're new people, but then I see some of the names. Die Slow, Left Lane, all people that have passed through here. It's like they can't let it go. Dear Mark.
I think it's like even I don't know why if they've got something against Nathan. I don't know, but it's almost as if like because Nathan's just pointing out the facts of the matter that Earth is measured flat, and he's not taking any. Nathan's not saying he measured it flat. He's just pointing out that that's how it's always been done. That's what we've had to deal with. People are somehow saying, "Well, we know what you're saying, and it's true, but we're not just going to go full 100% on that point because it'll just make you 100% right. So we're going to find some other way of saying things." It's like the guy that said, "Fucking hell, Nathan fucking got a really good point here. Let's jump on board with this."
Well, from what I hear,
doesn't make you special. That's the problem. The argument makes you special. It makes you a special snowflake that's figured out secret information, secret special information that you've got and the person next to you hasn't. You said about Die Slow and Left Lane. They're both conspiratards, aren't they?
Yeah, but the latest thing I heard was, what are you talking about, the measurements? That's been debunked with pi equals 2. I kid you not. Nathan's talking out of his ass because pi equals 2. That's all I got. How do you debunk a measurement? You tell me. We said it earlier. You can't put them on trial. Can't put it before a judge. It's a freaking measurement.
In this arena, like them people saying that they're just going to give you that because you want you then to react and have an argument about pi because they don't want to talk about anything else. But then going back to what you were saying earlier, I think it was CC saying it. It's deep rooted. It's not just people in this arena like your Die Slow Left Lanes and Ruhifs and Xanax and all the rest of them, right? And I'll give you examples of just people I know and, friends of friends who I've spoke to, it's cropped up in conversation in a bar or just out and about, and it's got a little bit high rated, the conversation. And this is somebody who's never been on Discord, doesn't know there's really any arguments, but when I start talking about, it's measured flat, something triggers deep within them. That's how deep rooted it is, just for normal people. And I think, because you were saying that, Nathan, you'd like to speak to them, some of them people are better, but you were speaking to a lot of normal people on, what was that little show you was doing when you used to just jib in and tell them they're in a religion and they don't know, I can't remember the name of the app. They were just normal people, and some of them reacted to you. They're
Me TV.
Yeah, they're not debating it every day, or not that it's a debate, but coming on Discord and saying it is round, and they've probably not thought about it really. And then Nathan pops up saying, you're a religion and you think you live on a globe. Well, it is a globe. So, and what they come out with, I was surprised that a mate of mine, like I said, he was coming out with, oh God, he's like, well, that's where I got the sea level going from, because in his mind he thought, because there's different levels of levelness, that must mean levels curved. That's where that came from. Just a friend of mine who would not, and I said, well, with John, we're not going to be arguing about level, are we, mate? You're a very intelligent guy. We both know what level is. So it sort of ended there. But what I'm trying to say is, like, these normal people, it's this heliocentric religion, deep rooted. You know what I mean?
But yeah, you're venturing into conspiratard territory and going, look how many people are in here. Shouldn't they be appreciating how inconsequential they are? How they're not special snowflakes? And then you turn around and go, hang on a second, I understand where the lack of appeal's coming from. You want to be affirmed that you're a special snowflake and you can take apart average normie in his globe belief by showing how ball-shaped the world isn't. Flat measurements... no, we've shown that the flat measurements mean pi equals 2. You're like, these people are freaking retarded. Why would you want to hang around with them?
Yeah, that's when I made my exit. What are you talking about? That's been debunked. Pi equals 2.
Miles have been debunked, you say. Altitude's been debunked, you say. Angles have been debunked, you say. Sea level's been debunked, you say. Eye level's been debunked, you say. The equatorial plane that's been derived from ball faith or four ball faith is debunked. Oh, okay. Fair enough. I didn't need it. But feel free. Decry it all. These same people will tell you that there's chemtrails and former worlds that are now covered in mud and that trees used to be made of silicon.
Well, that's what it is in the other servers, like Earth Awakenings, for instance. Has nothing to do with flat Earth. It's Earth Awakenings. So anything goes there. If it's awakening you to what's happening on Earth.
The last conversation I heard in there was all the grown men was arguing about bees and insects. Bees don't use the wings to fly. They've got anti-gravitational properties.
Well, they used to have wings that made them fly, but then we had a Mandela effect, and now they use anti-gravitational relative density disequilibrium from a ether, apparently.
Can you be anti something that doesn't exist?
But before or after the Mandela effect made it exist? You've got to be clear.
You don't understand Mandela.
Free Nelson Mandela. Go on, Craig.
I am not doing that.
So, book update then, Nathan?
No, there's nothing to tell you until my publisher gets back to me. So the last thing he said was, I can't open the OneDrive document. Can you send it me in a different format? That was on Sunday. So it's now Tuesday. I would imagine it'll take him a day or two to get through it. And yeah, as soon as he does, it'll go on the website. It'll be very anticlimactic in that regard. It'll just be, a show will start and I'll go, oh, by the way, the book's available now. You can get it from the downloadable link below. And that'll be it. And you'll be like, what? No circus coming to town with a giant billboard with your face on it? I'll be like, no, it's just available now.
Nathan, you got to make an announcement. You should make a little video announcement of what's going on and stay tuned because it'll be coming out.
Yeah, but I've been saying that for months. I think people just want to see it out. So I think the next announcement should just be, it's available. Buy it below.
Okay.
Do you not think? People will just appreciate just, oh, right, it's just available. Like, yep, you can buy it now.
Yeah, I think the close-knitted people around you are going to just buy it anyway, because we've all been involved with it, we've been all listening to you. And then there's people who aren't in this arena who are, interested in flat Earth, who haven't got this to us yet, or into the arenas and think, oh, they'll find your book and read that. And, yeah, it'll sell.
What I really need to do is, once it's available, that's when the real work starts. It's like, then I've got to try and convince people to have me on their show to talk about it.
Hey, can you not do a TED Talk?
TED Talk?
How do you get on them?
I don't know. But that's something I'll have to consider, isn't it? Maybe.
All right. Sort of contact colleges and universities, geography departments, and just put it up as somebody with a different view of what we've been taught in geography. Okay, kids, children, adults, have a listen to what the guy's got to say. He's got a book on it. He's going to come in and just have a little few words on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'll be doing next. But this is literally just a period of limbo where it's not a great deal to do. It's just wait for it to come out, and then once it's out, I can start promoting it. But I would imagine it won't be more than a week. Probably less than that. Probably in the next day or two, I'll be saying, right, the link's below now, you can buy it. And as much as I obviously, the first priority is that it sells, because I need it to generate an extra revenue stream. So obviously I'm super keen for it to flog. But I'm not so desperate that I need to do anything besides wait. You know what I mean? I can't really do anything.
Yeah, you've got to get it out first before you do anything. Then you've got to contact, once it's out, then you can make the next step of contacting people, getting on the shows if you can, like Sergeant and whoever else. And then thinking of other things, like you say, like doing talks, just to get the message out there, isn't it? Promote the book. But then the book will be there for availability, and people do search for these things. Somebody new coming into it, think, oh, I'm going to buy a flat Earth book. Google flat Earth book, and yours will pop up. I'll buy that. They'll tell their mates about it. So it's a gradual process.
Indeedy.
It was back to winter this morning. Where in Manchester, it's been a nice weekend, and then I went out early this morning. It was like 4 degrees. It's like one extreme to the other. These bloody chemtrails.
Yeah, it was cold. Yeah, this is genuinely the calm before the storm.
It's funny I've said to the guys, not that. I mean, when I first sort of flat Earth hit me, sort of thing. I've always loved it. I've always just sort of thought that the realization of that actually the Earth's not a globe, and then the journey I've had myself. But I always had a feeling I would sort of be in the end sort of pond or the end result, and I don't know why I ever thought that. I thought I will be involved with this somehow, and I feel like I have been involved with it when I found FED. And I'm still here. You know what I mean? I knew deep down that this is for you. And you will be here till to sort of not the end, but you will be involved in a certain way with this one day. That's what something was telling me. And it was right. The voice was correct. Yes, I had that feeling one day too.
Hey, well, I'm glad you're here, but I just kept quiet.
It could have been worse, Nathan. You could have been called better.
Could have been. That would have been terrible.
But yeah, get hopefully that, like you say, the book. What day are we on today?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, innit? Yeah, Wednesday. Even if you say Monday, like so early next week, if you just say there, give him time to go through it. Is there a chance that it'd come back to you with some critique and you've got to do other alterations? Do you think, or is that possible?
Yeah, it's certainly possible.
I mean, or is his critique it doesn't mean if something's has been snagged that it's correct, does it? You know what I mean?
I would assume he's just going to publish it. Like I say, I don't know. It's not it's the first time I've done this, so I don't really know what the general procedure is.
How'd you get a publisher then?
Tell him to put him in touch with me. Mate at Tenth, basically, he just happened to have a website that was selling books.
What does he do? How does it work? Do you like pay him up front, or do you like take a percentage of the sales? Like
he gets 30%, I get 30%. Whoever buys sells the book as an affiliate gets 30%.
Right, so he's got to look at what you've got to offer and think, right, this is worthwhile for me to spend some time on this because, it's going to sell and I'm going to get 30%. So, and he's been involved with the Flat Earth books along the way, so he knows that it's going to be it's going to do something, doesn't he? He knows it's going to sell.
Yeah, well, he's got, of all the books that he was selling, the ones that were selling the most were the Flat Earth books.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
Again?
You said 30, 30, and 30. That leaves 10% left over. Who's that for?
For general expenses.
Exactly. I was just being a bit anal.
That's for me, Neil. 5% for Neil. 5% for me. It's not Friday, but I fancy a curry tonight for some reason. I've been on call all week. I do call every 4 weeks. You're on call, 24-hour call after the office closure at 5-ish. Any calls come to me, and I've got to deal with that call. And I can dial in on my iPad. I can dial into the supermarkets and look at individual fridge systems and look at the probe readings and determine what the problem might be.
Normally, it's not cold enough.
Yeah, but I can determine where it could be iced up, like where the coil is embedded in ice, which will be like, well, I can phone the manager up and say, listen, I've had a look at it, I've looked at your graphs, it's blah, 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 it's iced up, you need to empty it, we'll switch it off, give it an overnight defrost, I'll be there in the morning. That's if you don't want to go out and get overtime. Or you can say, well, I'll just come out straight away and get some overtime, which is what I've been doing recently because I needed some extra money. But sometimes I'll think, I can't be bothered going out, so I'll just put them off while the morning. But I was quite busy this weekend. So 6 hours Saturday. 6 hours Saturday, and then I finished Saturday, got home, shower, food. It was nice Saturday. Sat in the garden for a couple of hours. Went to bed early, and then I got a call at I think it's about 1 o'clock in the morning. Dialed into me iPad, and I could see there was multiple cases, high temperature. So that's a problem. I have to go out. So I'm in Manchester. I had to drive to Bradford. That's where the call was. It took me about an hour to get there. And I just like problems on we call them a pack. It's like a contained unit with compressors in there, 6 or 8 compressors, which is giving coolant to 12 multi-deck cases, like produce, fresh meat cases, stuff like that. And they was all going high. So it was a bit of a technical problem. So I was out in the dark. I had to put my bloody head torch on. It was freezing. And I was out there most of the early hours and didn't get back home while about 10 o'clock Sunday morning. Had a shower, had a brew, and then I was knackered. So I slept most of the day Sunday. Back to normal yesterday. So don't know why I'm telling you all this life story of my call out, but
not a lot. Nothing else getting discussed. So it's fair enough.
Yeah, sure.
Here's something from a Hoosier. What does knackered mean? What does the word come from? I know knackered means you're tired, but what's that derived from? Knackered.
It's tired in a sexual context.
I've worn out the knackers.
It's all. So what is knackers? What's a knacker?
Knackered. I was knackered. Must come from somewhere. Well, it wasn't.
It's your testicles, right?
Not. It wasn't sexual knackered for me over the weekend. It was definitely not nothing to do with that.
I mean, you're like going at it all night, and you roll over and go, "I'm knackered." What's with that?
You guys call it blue balls, eh?
No, that's when you don't have any sexual anything forever.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad.
And it's knackered, not knackered.
Don't confuse man.
Like knackered, like it's the Knights. Arthur and his round table of Knights.
Exactly.
You need a spoon, a fork, and a knife at the table.
Still don't understand this silent letter thing.
Well,
it makes no sense.
Says the British slang word knackered, meaning extremely tired or broken, originates from the 19th century trade of a knacker, who was a person responsible for disposing of old, sick, or worn-out horses.
There you go. And that comes from knickers, because that's what horses do. They knicker.
Nay.
No, yes. Not nay, yes. They knicker.
The knacker's yard. An old or injured horse that could no longer work was sent to a knacker's yard.
Isn't it Kune? One day.
Awesome.
Hey, mate.
Isn't it Kune?
Knackered, yeah, knackered. From the horse to human. By the 1880s, people who were worn out or exhausted from hard work began to describe themselves as knackered, comparing their physical state to a horse that was only fit for the knacker's yard.
I love this. This is great. See, I knew there was some kind of reason for it.
So the knacker's yard is a place for old horses.
Yep.
Here we just put them out to pasture.
Learn something new every day. Thank you for that, bro.
Other related terms, cream crackered. This is a form of Cockney rhyming slang used in the UK for being absolutely knackered. I'm cream crackered. So I'm going to go up the apples and pears. That's the stairs. And, and get my head down. Am I right? I booked myself.
What are you going to call it?
Probably flat earth poems.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure there's a person out there called Flat Earth Poem.
Oh yeah, there is. Yeah, level playing poem. Nathan's friend, and she sent Nathan some lovely books for Nathan and Paula and his girls.
Yeah, I've covered 3 of the 4 so far. I said I'd do all 4, and I haven't.
I'm thinking about.
How's she done with her books, Nathan? Have you spoke to her about that or not?
Yeah, she said there was a small increase in the number of sales after I gave it a little plug, which I was pleased to hear.
Oh, that's good then. Yeah. And has she got so many out, or does she continue to publish?
Yeah, she's continued to sell more books. So good news all around.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah.
Who sold? What are you talking about?
Level Playing Poem. Tomorrow.
What book?
Her books are flat Earth poetry books.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what? The book dropped? Why are we speaking so casually? Where's my, like, what? Yo, I need to be like the first 5 people that have bought it.
I'm going to round out. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.